Hello everyone, welcome to What If Quirkless Deku got mentored by Almight and made Harem with Momo, Melissa and Todoroki Part 2. Before we start, please go support Oscar Xperia 5991 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Deku is a male. Chapter 7 Heroic Desire. Yui Academy Exit, End of Day. Izuku, walking next to Momo and Shukoji girls. I already told you that I'm fine. Blushed from having them so close while many look at them while whispering. Momo, I know, but I still worry, walking to Izuku's left. Shuko, walking to Izuku's right. I say the same thing staring at him. Midoriya, you are my only friend, that's why I don't want anything bad to happen to you. Remembering both of their scars, especially since we both have these scars. Wanting to change the subject, by the way. How did you know that jerk Bakugo would attack you? Nobody could see anything until that explosion almost reached them. Momo, it's true, and I thank you again for that, Midoriya-kun, but curious, I also want to know. Izuku, well, the truth is that staying silent for a few seconds, raising the girls' expectations, I have no idea. Shuko/Momo, what? Unbelieving. Izuku, seeing the girls' faces of disbelief, I'm serious. I really don't know how I knew, not being able to believe it himself. That feeling was very strange, just like how I felt much lighter when I jumped on walls. I have to ask Almight. Momo, well, with her hand on her chin, I guess that knowing Bakugo so well, unfortunately, you were expecting an attack like that, giving her hypothesis, not very convinced of it. Izuku, see, could be he a little nervous. Sorry girls, if this has anything to do with one for all, I can't tell you. Shuko, Midoriya, not believing that explanation. You're not hiding something a little suspicious. The strength he showed in the ball throw, and the closeness he seems to have with All Might, right? Izuku, gulping, I being interrupted by a scream behind him. Bakugo, Deku! Screaming from the entrance. You. Clenching his fist, you're just a damn useless. Making everyone see why. Why did you defeat me today even when I went all out? Grinding his teeth in anger, you were just a damn quirkless. Where did you get that power? Holding back his tears in frustration, answer me. Everyone immediately began to murmur amongst themselves about what they had heard. Immediately both Momo and Shuko were going to intervene. But to their surprise and joy, it was Izuku himself who responded and defended himself from their bullying, confirming their words. Those explosions will never hurt me again. Izuku, angry, I don't have to tell you anything, you damn idiot. Surprising Bakugo, my life is none of your business. Turning around to start walking, being followed by the girls, who could only smile at that scene. Don't come complaining just because I broke your fragile ego. Bakugo, curse damn, clenching his fists to the point that they were almost bleeding while he only saw Shuko smile at seeing Izuku. I will beat you, no matter what I have to do. I will be the strongest. And that's how the day ended for most. Except for Izuku, since once Momo left him at his apartment, he called All Might to ask him something important, which when he understood that it would be accepted, he immediately, and after a few minutes they found themselves in a small park not far from where Izuku lived. Park Sunset. Izuku, walking next to his teacher, thanks for coming at this time. I hope you haven't been busy. Toshinori, don't worry. Izuku, smiling, I just had a little chat with the director. Besides, anything you want to talk to me about will be much more important to me than anything the director says. Haha, happy with how he left it a few hours ago. Izuku, I'm glad to know that you weren't busy. Happy to feel important to his teacher. I called you because something happened during my fight against Bakugo. Toshinori, what is it about? Confused, does it have something to do with that? Izuku, I don't know. Remembering that moment when I dodged that explosion, I felt a really strange sensation. I don't know how to describe it. Putting his hand on his chin, thinking, I just knew that danger was coming. Toshinori, what? You didn't know about his attack after all the years you've known him? Is there anything else? Izuku, and realizing that he forgot something. In fact, yes, when I was able to use that on my feet and start jumping at some point, I felt much lighter, and that's how I was able to reach the ceiling. Greatly confusing. Toshinori, do you know what it is? Toshinori, no. Seeing Izuku's surprised face, I really have no idea what you're talking about. When I had that, I never experienced anything like what you're telling me. The closest thing was predicting the villain's actions, but that took me many years of constant struggle. And with feeling lighter, I don't know, trying to find an explanation, couldn't you have increased the percentage at that moment? Izuku, shaking his head, I never did it. It just happened without me doing anything. That's why I wanted to ask you if you knew anything about it. Tashinori, I'm sorry I can't help you with that, Izuku. But I'm really not very good at these subjects. I'm not like my friend realizing something, that's it. Scaring Izuku a little by that sudden emotion, I know someone who is an expert on the subject. He could help us get a better idea. Izuku, really? Excited, who? Tashinori, my best friend, David Shield. Izuku, one of the most important scientists in the world? Surprised, the one who created your suits and was like a partner of yours many years ago. Tashinori, it's actually a little scary how much you know me. With a small drop of sweat on his forehead, yes, that same one. I can call him and tell him your doubts, seeing Izuku's face, knowing what he was thinking, and no. He doesn't know anything about that. Taking out his phone, I wanted to leave him out of this for his safety. Getting a little sad, he lost his wife after his daughter was born, smiling looking at a photograph. Even so, I visited them from time to time to see how they were doing, and thanks to that she considers me as her uncle, showing her the photograph. Izuku, smiling, what's your name? Tashinori, her name is Melissa, putting away her phone. This is an old photo. She is about your age, smiling, I'm sure if you two met you would be great friends, haha. Izuku, well, if you say so, it must be true. Tashinori, I'll introduce you to her someday. Watching the sunset, David must be busy at this time, so I'll call him later, putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder. So do you want to go get something to eat? Seeing how Izuku was about to say something, don't worry. We can bring something to your mother too. Izuku, of course. UA Academy Class 1A. The next day. Aizawa, I hope you've rested from yesterday's battle rehearsal. Getting serious, I checked yesterday's recordings and I have some things to say. Bakugo should have expelled you, seeing how he got irritated without caring. Those explosions were very dangerous. The structure of the building was very damaged. If it had been a real case, many civilians would have been injured. Seeing him with his quirk active with some fury, but the worst of all was that attack from behind towards Midoriya. If it weren't because the director prevented it, I would have already taken you out of this academy. I don't know what problems you have, but solve it like a civilized person and not like a spoiled child. Bakugo, tch, looking away. Aizawa, Midoriya, you did well. You managed to adapt to the situation. In addition to showing good reflexes, dodging that surprise attack, very thoughtful. I'm still surprised by how he did it. Only someone with decades of experience would be capable of something like that. And one last thing, you must learn not to let your guard down. Although the battle was over in real life, you must not turn your back on the enemy, otherwise the same thing could happen to you as yesterday. Is that clear? Izuku, yes sir. Aizawa, okay. Leaving that aside, the others did well, some more than others. But so far they are learning. But now let's move on to another matter. We need to elect a class president. Everyone. Finally something resembling a school. And that's how all the students started shouting, wanting to be class president. And the one who was most interested in the position was Ida, who didn't care about the opinion of others. But seeing himself outnumbered, he had no other option but to accept the idea of a vote, which to his misfortune was won by Izuku with 3 votes, followed by Momo, who had 2. Aizawa, inside his sleeping bag looking like a caterpillar. So the class president is Midoriya and the vice president is Yayorozu. Sounds good to me. Now that we're done, you can go to the cafeteria for your food. Leaving the classroom. Mineta, it's not fair. Pointing at Izuku, everything is going great for Midoriya. Looking at Momo and then at Shuko, after all, he has the best girls in the class always by his side and is also the president. Being silenced by a lick from Tsuyu. Tsuyu, don't say things like that. Karo, putting her hand on her chin. Although it is true that Midoriya and Yayorozu are always together, are you sure they are not dating? Causing both of them to blush and Shuko to frown. Mina, I don't think so. They already said that they are just friends. Looking at Shuko to secretly get on her nerves, confusing her. Momo, and let's go to lunch better. With a little awkwardness. Why does it bother me when other girls say that Midoriya-kun and I are just friends? UA Academy cafeteria, half day. Izuku, eating katsudon. They made me class president so suddenly. I'm not sure if I can do it. Uraraka, of course you will, sitting in front of Izuku. Momo, sitting to Izuku's right. You'll be fine, you have the courage and good judgment it takes. Midoriya-kun smiling at him. I voted for you because I knew you could. Izuku, but you have more experience with being a class president. Yamamoto remembering her high school days. That's why I voted for you, making Momo happy for that. Shuko, I also think that Yaoyorozu would be better for the position because of her experiences. I voted for Midoriya because he was the only one I trusted. But I didn't imagine that Yaoyorozu would stay with him, hiding her discomfort. I don't like that. Besides, if you weren't the president, you would have more free time and we could train together. What do you say? Momo, wow, Todoroki-san, I didn't know you cared so much about Midoriya-kun's training. Looking defiantly at Shuko, but don't worry, he has everything he needs at my house. Shuko, looking defiantly at Momo as she got very close to Izuku. Machines can't match real training between two people, right? Besides, I'm sure you couldn't help him with that. Momo, are you implying that I'm not good enough to be her training partner? Still looking at Shuko as she approached Izuku. What do you think, Midoriya-kun? Izuku, G-girls blushing deeply, holding both of their breasts very close to his face while listening to many students whispering please, trying to calm them down until someone came to their table. Hi Yaoyorozu, I haven't seen you in a long time. Momo, frowning at who had arrived. What are you doing here? Didn't you understand that I didn't want to see you? Always. Izuku, noticing Momo's discomfort. Do you know him? Momo, unfortunately, Always, I'm her fiancé, causing everyone to fall silent. My name is Yosetsu Always and I'm in Class B. Momo, that's not true. Snapping up from the table. You're just a guy who keeps sending engagement requests to my family no matter how much I reject them all. Clearly angry. Izuku, remembering the exact moment he met Momo. Were they guys like the one Yamamoto had to meet? Always, oh come on Yaoyorozu, it's natural for people like us to end up together, it's our destiny. After all, my parents are the most important partners of yours. Shamelessly looking at Momo's breasts with a perverted look. What do you say if trying to touch Momo, but is quickly stopped by Izuku. What do you think you're doing? Damn it. Izuku, holding Away's wrist tightly. She remembering everything Momo told him about that subject. She is free to choose who to be with. Squeezing a little harder, causing pain. Yamamoto is one of the most incredible girls I know, and her destiny is much more than being someone's fiancé. Impressing everyone, but especially Momo, who could feel how her heart had started to beat a little faster. Always, let me go, damn it, or else I will. But before he could say his threat, the alarms of the entire academy had been activated, giving the warning that the villains had entered it. With that said, the majority panicked, being Always himself one of the first to try to flee. Nobody knew what to do, and Izuku's group ended up glued to the windows where they could clearly see that it was only the press that had somehow managed to find a way to enter. Quickly and with confidence still somewhat boosted by Izuku's words, Momo devised a strategy which consisted of creating a large megaphone, while Uraraka made Izuku float, and once he was on the roof she told everyone that there was no danger, and that it was only the press that somehow managed to enter the academy grounds. In this way, little by little, everyone regained their calm. The police had arrived to remove all the reporters, but not before giving them a large fine for entering the academy without authorization. After a few minutes, lunchtime was over and everyone returned to their classes. UA Academy Class 1A. Yaoyorozu, good job calming everyone down. Midoriya-kun smiling. Kirishima, yes, the vice president is right, you did a good job back in the dining room. Jiro, it was the same as in the battle test, you two make a good team. Izuku, thank you very much everyone, but I don't deserve the credit. Turning to look at Momo. Yamamoto, you were the one who thought of that plan, and without you things would have gotten out of control. Smiling, that's why I'm sure that the most qualified for the position of president is you. Smiling, that's why I give it to you. Yaoyorozu, surprised, are you sure? Seeing how she nodded her head without any doubt. Fine, but with one condition. Izuku, which one? Confused. Momo, I hope you're my vice president. After all, you're the one I trust the most. Smiling sweetly, let's work together. Midoriya-kun looking at Shuko, while her smile conveyed another feeling. That way we can spend more time together. Shuko, not saying anything, just clenching her fists a little while looking at Momo, somewhat angry. And while all this was happening, Nadia imagined that at the entrance of the academy were the director and some teachers observing that the door through which the reporters entered had been completely destroyed, and despite the seriousness of the scare, they did not say anything. UA Academy several days later. Aizawa, in front of all his students about the heroism class we will study today, a last-minute change has been made. Almight will not accompany us on this occasion, nor his assistant, seeing that most are discouraged by that news. The reason I learned is that he had to attend to a very important matter for him. Siro, sensei. Raising hand, what are we going to do without Almight sensei? Aizawa. Be the hero that everyone needs, confusing everyone whether it's a flood or any other disaster. Today we will do the rescue rehearsal. Kaminari. The rescue trial. It seems like it will be a little more difficult this time. Mina. Totally. Kirishima. Come on. That's what a hero's job is all about. I can't wait. Tsuyu. If it's a flood, that environment is my specialty. Karo. Aizawa. Don't get ahead of yourself. As I was saying, it's your decision to use your suits on this occasion, and the training area is quite far away, so we'll have to go by bus. That's all, go get ready. And so while everyone was getting ready for that day and heading to the parking lot where their bus would be waiting, Izuku could only remember the call he had with his teacher the night before. Midoriya apartment, Izuku's room, the night before. Izuku, what do you mean you won't be here tomorrow? Talking on the phone with his teacher. Tashinori, boarding a plane. Yes, I'm sorry I didn't tell you before, but I can't talk to my friend about that on the phone, and he will be very busy with an event that will take place soon on the island, so I only have this opportunity to talk to him. Izuku, I understand, clearly discouraged being noticed by All Might. Tashinori, I'm sorry Izuku, but he opens with Gran Torino earlier and he's right. While it's right that he protects you so much, in the long run it wouldn't prepare you to handle yourself in the face of the dangers of the world. Izuku, will it take long? Tashinori, it will only be for 2-3 days at most. Getting serious, listen to me Izuku, one day you will be a professional hero and I will no longer be able to be by your side all the time, so take this experience as your training too, understood? Izuku, he's right, All Might entrusted me with One for All and I have to master it, and not always depend on it. Yes sir. Tashinori, that's the attitude. Encouraged. My flight is about to leave, so listen to these words that may be useful to you in the future. Izuku smiling. Listen. Bus present. Tsuyu, Midoriya. Screaming a little, scaring him. Izuku, stopping, remembering what's happening. Tsuyu, I was talking to you, but you weren't responding. Izuku, I'm sorry, I just got distracted remembering something. What were you saying to me, Ajui-san? Tsuyu, first of all, call me Tsuyukero, and second, I was telling you that I always say what I think no matter what's on my mind, causing everyone to look at her while she stared at Izuku. Your quirk reminds me a bit of All Might's. Izuku, very nervous, noticing how everyone looks at him. Really? Haha, but mine is not as powerful as his. Aizawa, listening carefully, still that doesn't explain how my quirk didn't affect yours. Kirishima, but wait Ajui-san, All Might's quirk gives him so much strength that he is able to change the weather with just the force of his blows, and although Midoriya is very strong, he does not reach those levels successfully. Changing the subject, although I am somewhat jealous of you Midoriya, making Izuku look at him, even if it is a simple enhancer type quirk. There are many things you can do with one, extending his arm while activating his quirk. My quirk only allows me to harden my body. It is not bad for hitting, but it is not at all striking. Izuku, you're wrong. Excited, I think it's an amazing quirk. It would definitely be very helpful for a professional. Momo, remembering what Izuku's life was like before, only being able to smile at how things were different for him now. Mina, getting into the conversation, but you know what? Heroism is also like a popularity contest, where those who have flashy quirks stand out more than the others. Tsuyu, well, if we talk about an attack that is striking and strong, we can't forget Bakugo and Todoroki. Although Bakugo is always angry, so he won't be popular. Bakugo, hey you damn toad. Angry, I'll also be popular, and I'll stay with the best of women. Looking at Shuko, being noticed by her, but she just ignores him to just look at Izuku. Tsuyu, have you seen? Pointing at him. Shuko, watching Izuku interact with Kirishima. Midoriya, I'm glad to know that you have more friends now, but feeling a small pressure in her chest. Sometimes I feel that one day you might leave me aside. Kaminari, we just started socializing recently, and we all know what a shitty personality you have. Man, ha ha ha, mocking in your face. Bakugo, what do you mean by that, you damn electric rat? Creating light explosions in his hands, I'm going to kill you. Izuku, amazed watching the scene, I can't believe it. For the first time all our classmates laugh at Bakugo, smiling slightly. I like you more and more. Aizawa, Bakugo, you better calm down, if you don't I won't allow you to participate, raising his voice, forcing him to keep quiet. We're almost there, sit down properly. Oh, yes sir. Momo, laughing a little, you deserve that and more, Bakugo. USJ minutes later. All, seeing everything that was inside, incredible. 13. Waiting at the entrance in front of all the students, floods, landslides, fires, etc. This is a practical training area that I have created to simulate all types of disasters and accidents. Izuku, she's the number 13 heroine. Uraraka, wow. I've always liked 13. Aizawa, coming closer, hey 13. Do you think it'll be okay with just the two of us to teach the class? 13. Thoughtful, it will certainly be somewhat complicated to divide our attention and for all students to be able to experience the different areas. Aizawa, that guy is really irrational, shaking head, imagining Almight telling us he wouldn't be here a day earlier. Deep breath, where should we start? 13. Before we start, just a few things addressing the students. I'm sure you all know, but my quirk is called Black Hole. No matter what matter is trapped in it, it turns to dust. Izuku, that quirk is perfect for removing debris and saving injured people in disasters. 13. True, however, it is also a power that can be easily used to kill people, and it is no different than all of your quirks, catching everyone's attention and making Aizawa look at Bakugo. Do not forget that each one has a quirk that can cause damage. One misstep is all it takes to accidentally kill someone. During Aizawa's exam they learned the potential of their powers, and during All Might's battle rehearsal they learned the true sense of danger using their powers against others. In this lesson we are going to study how to use their quirks for the good of others. Their quirks do not exist to harm others. That would be all. Thanks for listening to me. Izuku, feeling that weird sensation in his head again, looking around, what's going on? Aizawa, okay. First noticing how a portal was forming in the middle of the place. Get together in one place and don't move. Seeing how several people were coming out of the portal. Aizawa, 13. Protect the students. Seeing how a lot of people came out of that portal. Kirishima, what is that? Is it part of the exam? Confused. Aizawa, don't move, they are putting on his eye protectors. Villains. Kurojairi, erase her head. In number 13, according to the teacher's resume we got it supposed that Mr. All Might would be here looking at the teachers, and yet. Aizawa, I knew it, getting on guard. The incident with the press was their doing. Shigaraki, where is he? Scratching his neck hard, leaving some marks. We went through a lot of trouble and brought a lot of us here. You can't tell me that All Might, the symbol of peace, isn't here. Seeing the students making a decision, I wonder if he'll show up if we kill all these kids? Scaring everyone with what he said. Extra villain, with a camera in hand. What should we do, sir? Shigaraki, thinking for a few seconds. We will continue with the plan. You begin with the transmission, smiling madly while the villains with cameras obeyed. If he sees how we kill his students, he will surely come. And without the heroes or students knowing, as soon as the cameras began broadcasting, most of the channels in the entire country were hacked, causing the entire nation to see the students and the large number of villains they had before them. That set off alarms at the academy, the police, and the nearest hero agencies. Even Endeavor himself, seeing that, quickly left what he was doing and headed towards the USJ at maximum speed just to make sure that his perfect creation wouldn't be damaged before it was complete. Unfortunately, what no one expected was that at the entire entrance of the same USJ there were a large number of villains watching and guarding the door with the sole mission of not letting absolutely anyone in. Shigaraki, All Might looking at the camera, the longer you take to arrive, the greater the number of families that will have to bury their children. Scaring some people, but especially the parents of the students, and for that we have Momo pointing at him, designed exclusively to match your strength and kill you. smiling madly. Don't take long, or the weight of their corpses will be on your shoulders. Aizawa, as if I were going to leave you. Jumping down the stairs ready to fight. 13. Protect the kids while I hold them off and reinforcements arrive. That guy with hideous hands all over his body spoke to the camera, so I guess they're broadcasting this. Extra villains. Alright squad, here we go, getting into position. What an idiot to come alone against all of us. Trying to use his quirks, huh? I can't shoot. Aizawa, holding two villains, making them collide with each other, making them faint. Extra villain. Bunch of idiots, you can tell at a glance. The quirk that erases other people's quirks. That's Eraserhead. But smiling while preparing his forearms to throw punches. Can you erase the mutant type like us? Aizawa, no, punching him in the face I can't. My power only works with emitter and transformation type quirks. Or so it should be. Holding the villain's leg while dodging another's blow. Even so, I have trained to counteract that, throwing the villain against his companions. Everyone could only watch with some astonishment the skills of that teacher from the UA Academy, and for a second the viewers calmed down a little, because if that was the quality of their teachers, then they would gain time for reinforcements to arrive. Unfortunately for them, that did not happen. Kurogyri, observing from a distance, his hand-to-hand combat skills are impressive, and we can't know what quirks he has erased since his line of sight is hidden by those glasses. Shigaraki, God, how troublesome are professional heroes. If we were any mob we wouldn't have a chance. Smiling, but luckily we're not that. Kurogyri sees. Kurogyri, yes, disappearing. 13. Young people, don't separate from me. Wanting to protect you, as long as we're all together we still have the chance to resist. Kurogyri, I'm afraid I can't allow that, appearing in front of the students and surprising everyone. Aizawa, seeing that shit, in the blink of an eye he reached them. He represents the biggest threat. Kurogyri, greetings future heroes, allow me to introduce ourselves. We are the League of Villains. I apologize for the intrusion, but we took the liberty of entering in order to meet with Mr. Almight, but since he was not present, things changed. Bakugo, a pathetic shadow, doesn't scare me. Getting closer, launching an explosion at point-blank range. Shine. Shuko, throwing ice from a distance. Kurogyri, using his quirk to defend himself. That was quite dangerous. It was to be expected. Although they are mere students, they are also the future heroes of the world. 13. Noticing that those attacks had no effect, get away from him now. Kurogyri, too late, expanding, absorbing several students. You will be dispersed, tortured, and finally killed. And before everyone's eyes, several of the young people were absorbed by that shadow. All the young people's mothers were crying because of those words. That feeling of helplessness only got worse with each second that the heroes did not arrive. UA Academy parking. Present Mike, driving a power loader modified vehicle, speeding out of the academy. This thing better get us there as fast as possible. Extremely worried, we have to save them now. Midnight, and we will succeed. Completely determined. After all, your safety is our top priority. Sniper, that's right, preparing his pistols while remembering how Izuku yelled at him on the day of the entrance exam, and this time that impertinent young man will have to admit that we saved his life. Nizu, ignoring all the teachers, the top priority in this case is not the students, not even one of them. What really matters to save in this situation is the one for all. USJ Flood Zone. Izuku, appearing above a lake. The flood zone? Sinking into the water? Teleportation? What the hell is going on? Extra villain, looking at Izuku. Oh, the bait has arrived, causing the villain holding the camera to point at him. Now everyone will see how I spread your entrails all over the water. Launching himself to attack him. Izuku, activating the one for all in both his hands, ready to defend himself. Everyone could see that scene with horror. Purinko cried out of immense concern for seeing her son being attacked live. But fortunately for everyone, her partner arrived, giving a strong kick to the villain's face, and holding him with her tongue she was able to get him out of the water and a young man who had purple spheres instead of hair to a boat that was in the middle of the place. Izuku, catching his breath, thanks Ajiri. Tsuyu, call me Tsuyu, and we are in a tight spot getting on the boat after throwing my netta to the ground. Izuku, they knew we would be here. They must have been the ones behind the press raid and used the distraction to get that information. My netta, they said they wanted to kill Almight, but it's impossible. Once he arrives, he will defeat them all. Tsuyu, Mineta, remember that All Might went somewhere else, and who knows how long it will take to get there. Also remember that thing they called Nomu. They said that it has the same strength as him, and I don't think they would risk doing all this if it wasn't true. And they also said that they would torture us to death, remember? Will we be able to hold out until All Might arrives, and if he comes, would it be okay? Mineta, scared to death. Midoriya Mira, pointing to the water where some villains stuck their heads out their back. What do we do? You're the president, please protect me. Izuku, Aji is right, they must have studied some way to defeat All Might, but they don't know us, otherwise that guy made of smoke wouldn't have sent Aji to this place where he has an advantage. That leaves us no choice but to fight. It's just like you said, Master, I can't always count on you to be by my side at all times. Mineta, are you an idiot or what? Waving his arm, these villains can possibly kill All Might. Izuku, calm down. Mineta, getting rid of him. Look, none of those villains have gotten on the ship. That supports my hypothesis. They don't know our quirks. Plus I think I have an idea. Listen, whispering to them. In this way, not even 2 minutes had passed when one of the villains, already tired of waiting, used his quirk to split the ship in half, causing it to sink. But at that very moment everyone could see how Mineta began to throw the spheres of his hair into the water, confirming Izuku's idea when he saw that they dodged them. And with a loud shout Izuku jumped off the boat, and sacrificing one of his fingers he used one for all at 100%, launching a blast of air causing the water to drag all the villains and Mineta's spheres, causing them to be unable to move. And while that was happening, Ajui took a great leap and used his tongue to carry Legos from the place to his 2 companions. To say that all the viewers were impressed was an understatement, and seeing the other demonstrations of skill from the other students began to calm them down. Unfortunately, that moment would not last long. Landslide zone, at the same time. Shuko, in front of frozen villains, scatter and kill us, huh? I'm sorry to say, but to me you guys are just a bunch of idiots. Frozen villain, damn it! As soon as I move again I'm gonna. Shuko, freezing the villain's mouth. At first glance they must have thought they could outnumber us. They really are a bunch of idiots. At this rate you're going to die from necrosis. But since I want to become a heroine, I'll avoid doing horrible things. I'm finally done here. Now I just want to find Midoriya, seeing that there was a battle in the next area. Mountain area. Kaminari, dodging a blow that was close. Gosh, I saw the gates of death getting closer to Momo and Jairu. Who the heck are these guys? What the heck is going on? Scared. Jairu, let's worry about the details later. Attacking a villain with his jacks. Yayorozu, right now we must think of a plan to take them down. Seeing how many villains were in front of him, Midoriya-kun, what would you do in this situation? Jairu, Kaminari, just fry them and that's it. Kaminari, don't you remember the battle rehearsal? I can only create lightning, but I can't control it, so that would give you guys 2. Jairu, you're talking too much. Kicking Kaminari, then become our riot shotgun. Kaminari, what are you doing, idiot? Running into a villain, electrocuting him. Momo, seeing that, that's it. Having an idea. I have an idea to win, but I need you to buy time. Extra villain, don't bother, you damn brats. Hitting Kaminari and electrocuting himself. Jairu, seeing a very determined Momo, if she says it, it must be true, connecting her jacks to the speakers on her legs, generating a strong sonic wave. I wrote to the guys in the suits to give her the ability to direct the sound in a certain direction, stopping the blow of another villain. Yayorozu, I'm ready! Generating a sheet from her back, breaking her suit, and covering both herself and Jiro. It takes time to do something like this. Extra villain, a foil? Confused, is that some kind of shield? Yayorozu, you're looking at a 100mm insulation sheet, which means smiling. Kaminari, it's your turn. Kaminari, understood. Activating his quirk. In that case I am stupidly strong. Generating a powerful electric shock, fainting all the villains. Yayorozu, peeking to see everyone passed out. Well, it seems that it worked, creating a new suit. I'm worried about the rest. Let's hurry up and meet up with them again. Kaminari, are you okay? Kaminari in idiot mode, hee, giving thumbs up. Jiro, he'll be fine, smiling with some grace, but aren't you more worried about our vice president? That plan was very good. I guess I'll return the favor by supporting you to win the war for Midoriya. Momo, what? Slightly blushing, I just being interrupted. Extra villain, coming out of the ground and taking Kaminari hostage, put your hands up, and don't even think about using your quirks, otherwise I'll kill this kid. Yayorozu, worried Kaminari. Jairu, damn, we completely let our guard down. Extra villain, as a fellow electricity user I don't want to kill him, but if it has to be like this then there's no remedy. Looking at all his fainted companions it seems that the plan is failing, but I don't plan on leaving empty-handed. Looking at Momo, hey you in the boar suit. If you come with me I'll let this one go, don't worry we'll have a lot of fun you and I ha ha ha. Causing great disgust to everyone and provoking the anger of Momo's parents who saw all that. Yayorozu, this is bad, we're trapped, if I don't do something fast Kaminari will die. Think Momo, you have to think fast of something. Suddenly, before anyone could think of a plan, a large amount of ice had enveloped the entire area, freezing the villain up to his neck and imprisoning the other villains who had fainted just because of him. Extra villain, what? I can't move, damn, being knocked out by a blow to the head. Shiko, are you okay? Yayorozu, Todoroki-san, you came just in time, thanks a lot, I owe you one. Shiko, defrosting the villain a little so he doesn't freeze to death, whatever you say, playing it down, I'm just looking for Midoriya and I thought he was here starting to walk, whatever, it's best to go to the central area with the others walking away from the place. Jairu, holding Kaminari, wait, don't leave us behind. Following her with Momo, who tried not to let that comment bother her. The battles came and went while everyone could only watch as some children defended themselves with everything they had. Not even 10 minutes had passed since that battle began and the first heroes had already arrived at the entrance. Unfortunately, the villains guarding it were much more experienced than those inside the facilities, so it was impossible for them to continue advancing without having more heroes or someone stronger than them arriving. Unfortunately, not all the battles were going well for the heroes, and the clear example of that was when the heroine 13 tried to contain Kurojairi with her quirk. He severely injured her by creating a portal on her back, causing her to attack herself with her same quirk. Fortunately for her, Kurojairi decided to retreat again to Shigaraki's side to help him, who was fighting with Aizawa after already incapacitating the professional heroine. But unfortunately he left the young students at the mercy of the villains who were slowly approaching their position, and things would only get worse. USJ Central Plaza. Shigaraki, 23 seconds, catching a ribbon from Aizawa. 20 seconds, 17 seconds. Aizawa, trying to hit Shigaraki's stomach with his elbow. Shigaraki, every time you use your quirk, your hair rises for a few seconds, but each time the time is shorter. Touching Aizawa's elbow with his hand, don't show off more than you can, erase her head. Aizawa, hitting Shigaraki and backing away, damn, my elbow is broken, dodging the blows of the other villains. Shigaraki, that quirk of yours, it's not good for fighting many opponents for a long time, right? Recovering from the blow isn't your specialty, fast attacks? So the reason you entered the battle was to give your students some confidence. Smiling twistedly, you're so cool. But unfortunately for you, I'm not the final boss. Looking at his best weapon, Nomu attack. And with that said, there was no turning back. That creature, in a quick, barely visible movement, grabbed the professional hero and, before the terrified gaze of all the nation's viewers, proceeded to brutally smash his face into the ground, as well as breaking his arm as if it were a simple branch. Naturally, the screams of pain were not long in coming, only causing fear in the students and big smiles in the villains. Shigaraki, being able to erase quirks is a respectable ability. Walking to Aizawa's side with the intention of mocking. Unfortunately, when you are faced with overwhelming power, it is as if you have no quirk at all. Getting serious, Nomu, torture him. At that order, the Nomu simply obeyed faithfully, causing him to not only break Aizawa's other arm, he did not stop there, since he also did the same with both legs and repeatedly crashed his face into the ground without giving him a single break. Aizawa, GWAH. Screaming in a heartbreaking way, almost on the verge of falling unconscious, he's breaking my bones as if they were branches. Seeing any part of his body should be enough to erase his quirk, that only means that this is his base strength. Kurojairi, appearing through a portal. Tamara. Shigaraki. Shigaraki, Kurojairi, so 13 is already dead? Kurojairi, I have incapacitated her, The other villains we brought will take care of finishing the job for both her and the students, but unfortunately there is no trace that All Might is coming." "Shigaraki, huh?" Scratching his neck hard out of anger. "What should you do?" All of this was with the sole purpose of making All Might come, making his neck bleed. "Kurojiri, should we go back?" Mineta, listening to that while still hiding at the edge of the lake. "Come back?" Starting to cry. "That means we're saved." Being silenced by Tsuyu. "Tsuyu, lower your voice. Do you want them to find us?" Looking at Izuku very thoughtfully. "Midoriya, what's wrong?" "Izuku, it doesn't make sense. They came and did practically nothing, and just like that they leave?" Shigaraki, no, confusing Kurojiri and terrifying the students by being seen by him and pointing at them. "If he refuses to leave with the adults, then we should just passing through a portal and coming out right in front of Tsuyu. Finish the children one by one if necessary for him to appear." Being less than a centimeter from touching and disintegrating Tsuyu's face when he felt something different, and looked at his back, noticing who was responsible. "You really are a great guy, Eraserhead, but this ends here, Noma." With that order, the Noma slammed Aizawa's head against the ground again in a much more brutal way, causing him to lose consciousness this time, his blood soaking the entire place. It was a nightmare image, and it got much worse when Shigaraki tried to touch Tsuyu's face again. But what no one expected was for Izuku to intervene. "Izuku, coming out of the water, let her go." Activating the OFA at 100% on his right hand. "I have no other way out. My finger is already broken, but if I don't do it, Ajri will die," throwing the punch directly towards Shigaraki while screaming. Smash! Shigaraki, Noma. A large amount of dust flew all over the place due to that powerful blow, which caught the attention of everyone in the area, and both the remaining villains and the students turned their gaze to the cloud of dust that was already dissipating, and when it did, everyone was surprised by what they saw. That villain who had easily defeated Aizawa was now with a broken arm, while that child's hand was noticeably broken as well. But far from everyone being happy, they could only feel more fear when that creature's arm regenerated almost instantly. "Shigaraki, impressed, I admit it. That blow of yours was very powerful. Too much for a normal student. You could become a threat in the future." Smiling like a maniac. "You will serve as an example, so that everyone sees how someone with strength like yours is no match for him." Screaming his order, causing the already very scared Inko to fall to her knees on the floor while crying desperately. "Nomu, torture him slowly." Obeying his orders, the Noma held Izuku tightly with his left arm and began to hit him with his other free arm. Those blows were thrown with the minimum of his strength. Even so, those blows were the strongest that Izuku had ever received. Bakugo's explosions were simple and small fireworks in comparison. There was no place where the Noma did not attack the poor Izuku, who, despite trying to defend himself, was useless against the abysmal difference in strength. His blood began to spread all over the battlefield. Even the villains stopped trying to attack the students as they were enjoying that grotesque spectacle. Everyone thought that the boy was already doomed, but unexpectedly a huge amount of ice had frozen the right half of the Noma, preventing him from continuing to hit Izuku, only for less than a second later to hear how someone fired a kind of cannon, managing to hit the frozen part of the Noma, managing to tear off his arm and causing him to release. Izuku having a terrifying appearance. Immediately both Uraraka and Kirishima had arrived, and using Momo's strategy, which consisted of Uraraka using her quirk on herself while Kirishima carried her, and while that creature was busy with its own regeneration, they would use that time to bring Izuku using Uraraka's quirk on him as well to be able to bring him faster. Which fortunately for everyone was a success. Izuku, slowly opening his eyes, seeing Shuko and Momo who were crying almost on top of him, G-girls noticing Kirishima and Uraraka F-friends hurting just by breathing tea. "Thank you, Kirishima. Don't worry bro, the strategy was from Yayorozu, and Todoroki gave us enough time to prepare by freezing all the villains that approached us." "Uraraka, what do we do now?" Seeing how that thing was almost in perfect condition. Shuko/Momo, crying, seeing that her friend was still alive. "Get him out of here/get him as far away as possible," agreeing for the first time. Shigaraki, "I see that boy is very important to you," smiling maliciously. "All the more reason I want him to suffer." Staring at the creature, Noma continued torturing him, "and don't let anyone stop you." A great scream was heard throughout the USJ. Those who were in other areas felt afraid just hearing it, and it was even worse for those who saw it, since the Noma, now completely recovered, launched himself again against that group of friends with the sole purpose of slowly ending Izuku's life. But to the surprise of many, a gigantic explosion had hit the creature's side, and not giving the others time to know what was happening, several explosions hit it consecutively, although of course these did not really do anything to it. Bakugo, damn you! Arriving at the battlefield while continuing to throw explosions, the most important of all these useless people is me. Launching himself at the Nomu to continue his attacks since I am the strongest, and I will prove it. Ida, don't think you're such a big deal, Bakugo. Arriving at high speed and kicking the Nomu in various parts. One come from a family of professional heroes and I have the best of their training. Continuing his attack at the same time as Bakugo. Uraraka, watching that battle, what do we do? Do we help him? Shuko, no! Lifting Izuku with the help of Momo. The most important thing is to keep him safe. With that regeneration it is impossible for us to do anything to him. I hate to admit it, but if it is not Almight, the only one I know who could defeat him is the old man. Momo. Todoroki-san is right, starting to slowly move Izuku away from the place. The only thing we can do is stay safe while reinforcements arrive. Kirishima. In that case, looking Uraraka straight in the eyes, let's use the same strategy again and save Aizawa-sensei. Uraraka, seeing her master lying a few meters away, okay. Activating her quirk and moving away from the place. And while all that was happening in a matter of seconds, the academy teachers had already arrived and began their attack on the villains who were blocking the way, falling defeated despite having the numerical advantage, and to make matters worse for them, some managed to see how Endeavor was arriving in the distance, and not only him. Some others from the top could also be seen in the distance, so they quickly informed Kurogiri of the situation. Izuku, curse, very injured, being dragged by his friends. If only Almight was, remembering the words he told him the day before. No, the problem is not that Almight is not here, clenching his fists despite having his right hand broken. The problem is that I am very weak. Even though he gave me one for all, I'm still weak. Without noticing that the Ofa was activating and deactivating in various parts of the body. I want to be strong, clenching his teeth in frustration. I want to be stronger. Kurogiri. Receiving the message, Tamura Shigaraki. The masters have arrived and some top heroes are approaching. Our forces outside will not hold out for long. We must leave. Shigaraki, no. Angry, scratching his neck hard, causing more blood to fall. I'm not going empty-handed. Watching how Bakugo and Ida dodged the Nomu's attacks to continue hitting him. Enough of Nomu games. Finish that brat once and for all. Quickly the Nomu, no longer containing his true strength, grabbed Ida's leg and using it as a club, slammed it into Bakugo, causing both of them to be badly injured with that single movement, and it was even worse when with a single step he broke one of Ida's arms and one of his legs, who couldn't do anything but scream in pain. And with a great roar like that of a beast, the Noma lunged at the girls who were carrying Izuku. That could only be described as the charge of a maddened bull. At that moment that sensation came back to Izuku's head, but instead of dodging it and getting to safety, he himself preferred to activate the Ofa in his hands, and despite the pain he threw the girls as far away as he could so that they wouldn't get hurt, but unfortunately resulting in him receiving a strong blow. Izuku, YUCK. Spitting out large amounts of blood upon receiving the blow, and being thrown right at the base of the entrance stairs. Each and every viewer remained in the deepest silence, since according to them they had seen the death of a child live. Purinko could only cry inconsolably on the floor of her apartment, completely alone, praying to her late husband that the slightest miracle would occur that would allow her son to be saved. Mr. and Mrs. Yayorozu were in the same situation. Purei only hugged Ruji while they both cried because after knowing him for so long they liked him very much. Shigaraki, ha 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 ha, well done Nomu. Seeing how Kurogiri opened a portal, we should go, smiling madly, but one is not enough. Seeing Shuko and Momo, Nomu also kills the girls that brat tried to save. For Izuku, who was about to lose consciousness, it seemed as if time was going much slower, and with great horror he could only watch helplessly as that creature went for his friends, and with several tears falling as they mixed with the blood on his face. He could only remember his entire journey up to that moment, and all the moments he shared with the people who had supported him. Friends. Girls. Almight. Mother. Dad. I'm sorry. I failed them. That had to be the end of everything. That desperate situation was not supposed to have a happy ending, and yet, as if it were the miracle that Inko had been praying to the heavens and the gods for, something happened, something that no one noticed, only Izuku himself, and that was that he had heard someone's voice. Ninth. That voice came from a man, and he slowly regained consciousness as he continued to listen to that voice that, even though Izuku had never heard it, for some reason a feeling invaded his heart. The closest thing would be nostalgia. This is not the end of you, your adventure is just beginning. Izuku's heart was beating violently. Adrenaline began to circulate throughout his body, giving that young boy enough strength to stand up once again, while the one for all manifested itself in several parts of his body at the same time. Even if your body is not ready for this yet, we will help you, we will always help you. By this point no one could believe what they were seeing. That young boy who was full of wounds and possibly broken bones had risen once again to face the villains. Everyone's hearts began to beat for some reason. Even the villains who were still in battle against the students looked at that scene in amazement. Izuku, slowly coming out of the dustbin, to be able to look at their faces, remembering the faces of all the people who have supported him, and more than anything to save the people I care about, remembering the faces of Shuko and Momo smiling at him. Izuku just closed his eyes as he concentrated, and although the Nomu had noticed his presence and wanted to carry out the order to kill him, for some reason he felt something different in Izuku, something that to everyone's surprise made him stand on guard for the first time, and in the meantime, Izuku could only hear the voice of that man again. Let your desires burn. At that moment all the moments of his life passed through his eyes, the fact of knowing that he was quirkless, the bullying he received from the one he considered his best friend, the death of his father, the day he met Almight, the first interactions he had with Momo and Shuko, and all his training up to that point. Everyone could see how those red stripes reappeared on Izuku's body more intense than ever. But unlike the other times, these ran through every inch of his body, and to everyone's greater surprise was when they disappeared and something new emerged. Bakugo, getting up with difficulty seeing that scene. What? All students, since when Midoriya, unable to move from the shock. No one could believe what they were seeing, from Inko who was just crying with happiness knowing that her son was still alive, to Momo's parents who could feel a great weight falling from their shoulders, to Izuku's former high school classmates who were open-mouthed at what they were seeing, and everyone was asking themselves the same question. Shuko/Momo can generate lightning? Shigaraki, why? If you already lost against Nomu? Not believing what he was seeing, why are you getting up? Izuku, still with eyes closed because I listening for the last time for the moment to that man's voice. Shout your wishes. I want to be a hero. After that scream that echoed in the hearts of all the people who heard it, Izuku opened his eyes and with great speed he launched himself to fight again against the Nomu. The blows came and went. But Izuku, knowing the strength of his opponent, dodged all his attacks and taking advantage of small moments of carelessness he threw several blows without caring that one of his hands was broken and the other was about to be broken by the toughness of the creature. Shigaraki could only laugh, since he thought that Izuku would be stronger than that. Like that first attack that managed to break the Nomu's arm, and with great emotion he revealed that his creature would not suffer from such weak attacks since in addition to having that regeneration it had the impact absorption quirk. Still, that didn't matter to Izuku and he kept hitting him even though everyone thought it was a useless strategy. And it was at that moment that everything changed. The Nomu's blows were getting slower, as well as his reaction time decreasing, so Izuku began to hit him more often and in the same areas of the body to cause more damage. Shigaraki, what do you think you're doing, Nomu? Desperate, stop playing and finish him with all your strength. Kurogyri, it's useless. Tamura. Shigaraki, looking closely at the Nomu, realizing something. It's not that he's not attacking him with all his might, it's that he simply can't. Shigaraki, what do you mean by that? Scratching his neck again, he should be immune to those hits. Kurogyri, I know, the problem isn't the blows, but the electricity. Pausing to explain as simply as possible is preventing his muscles from functioning normally, preventing him from using all his strength. Amazed, how strong does that discharge have to be to cause that to the Nomu? By this point the heroes had already managed to defeat all the villains outside, but each and every one of them froze at what they were seeing, a battle that, despite being somewhat clumsy, with quick but predictable movements. A battle that can only be classified as that of a complete rookie was loaded with more courage and determination than any other they had seen in their lives, with the exception of Almight. A smell of burning flesh was making itself present throughout the place. It came from the body of the gnome, of which the electricity that impacted it was so intense that its muscles were burning and its blood began to spread everywhere, even falling on Izuku's face, and despite that he continued to avoid his slow, but still powerful blows. And what impressed everyone the most was the expression of that young hero. Bakugo, why, gritting his teeth, even though I can go blow up the face of who seems to be their leader, clenching the fist of his healthy hand, why can't I stop watching this battle? Mineta, wasn't that thing supposed to kill All Might? Being heard by the heroes who had just arrived. Nizu, without looking away for a single second, is this the true power of your All Might successor? Uraraka, looks like without thinking of anything. Momo/Shuko, arriving next to everyone slowly without taking her eyes off Izuku the Argonaut. Uraraka, Argonaut? Confused, what is that? Momo, it's not that, but who? Shuko, is the protagonist of the story of a young man who dreamed of being a hero. Momo, smiling when comparing him to Izuku despite facing enemies that seemed impossible to defeat. Shuko, even though no one believed in him and his dream, he never gave up smiling, imitating Momo being noticed by Endeavor. Momo/Shuko, he was that boy with the true bearing of a hero. Everyone, looking at Izuku's back, having the same thought, the bearing of a hero. Uraraka, I would love to read that story, smiling at how that description fit Izuku. The battle was fierce. After dozens of attacks, Izuku had managed to tear off pieces of flesh from the Nomu, causing him great pain and only increasing his anger. But unfortunately his body was at its limit. The damage he received before, along with the pressure of using one for all over his body for the first time, was taking its toll. His vision was blurring, his wounds would not stop bleeding, nose, mouth, ears, eyes, the blood simply used any path to find a way out. Faced with this desperate situation, Izuku knew he had to do something as soon as possible, but at the same time he noticed that it was thanks to his rays that the creature's strength was diminished, and with great fear that if he stopped attacking it with them, it would return to its strongest state, and would once again harm all of his companions. That was an enemy with overwhelming power, and it was at that moment that he was able to remember his master's words from the day before. Even if you are faced with such overwhelming power, even if you feel like you are going to lose, you can still win if you focus all your will and determination on your final blow. At that moment, loading more power into his fist, Izuku launched himself one last time towards that monster that was his enemy. His bloody hands prevented anyone from noticing how a kind of black energy enveloped his already very injured fist, but it didn't stop there. Everyone could see the silhouette of someone behind Izuku. Some had to rub their eyes to check that they hadn't gone insane. That's the definition of a true hero punch, and when you do it you just have to scream at the top of your lungs. Everyone's eyes couldn't look away from what they were seeing. Heroes, villains, civilians, it didn't matter who it was, everyone had their eyes wide open, and two of the most surprised were Shuko and Momo, who, like everyone else, saw the figure of All Might behind Izuku preparing to give the same attack while they heard the scream of that young boy. Plus Ultra! Chapter 8 Preparation. Plus Ultra! It was the scream that echoed throughout the USJ. That blow from Izuku delivered to the Noma's abdomen was so powerful that he had no way to avoid flying out of the place, going through the roof in the process, and causing a great tremor throughout the structure. The light that entered through the large hole where the Nomu had passed began to illuminate the entire room, especially the wounded body of that young hero, who with pure force of will remained standing while everyone looked at him, especially those two friends he had made over the months. Momo, incredible, unable to stop looking at Izuku's back at any time. Is this Midoriya-kun's true power? Shuko, Midoriya staring at Izuku, that image, clenching his fists, that was undoubtedly the image of All Might Midoriya. You, suffering an internal conflict, you lied to me. While everyone had their own internal thoughts about what they had seen, and even with his arm completely broken from so much damage, and without stopping generating those rays, Izuku stared at Shigaraki. That look was enough for him to instinctively take a few steps back. but unfortunately it didn't last long. Izuku, falling to his knees on the ground as the rays he generated increased in intensity, causing a lot of pain to his already very injured body. I have to stop producing these rays, but I don't know how to do it. Ah. Tamura, recovering from the shock like many others, that kid, launching himself towards Izuku, he's a complete threat to our plans. Being a few meters away from touching him with his hands, I have to kill him now. Mirko, I won't let you do it. Running over the heads of some villains to get there as fast as possible. Kurogiri, it's time to go. Tamura Shigaraki. Watching how the heroine was getting closer to them and starting to create a portal. Tamura, not until I kill this child. About to touch him with his hand, but a portal begins to absorb him. Mirko, this is your end, villain. Giving a downward kick right in the direction of Tamura's head, but he is absorbed by the portal. TCH. Damn coward, looking at Izuku. Hey brat, well unable to finish his sentence. Izuku, increasing the intensity of the rays while his blood came out from various areas of his body. Mirko, what's wrong? Worried, deactivate your quirk quickly. Izuku, I can't do it. Crying from the intense pain he felt as his veins burst from not being able to withstand so much pressure. Mirko, damn, making a decision. Forgive me for this brat, kicking him in the head hard enough to make him faint. Izuku, deactivating the OFA and being on the verge of losing consciousness, saying a single word, thank you. Mirko, this kid picking him up and carrying him on his shoulder, as he watched his hand shake a little. I'm still shaking with excitement for your incredible fight, starting to run towards the exit, avoiding his other fellow heroes who were fighting against the villains. Finding a boy with such determination and bravery is very rare, smiling fiercely. I already want to see you at the sports festival and send you an application to do the internship with me. While all that was happening, the other heroes who had arrived took care of the remaining villains, who couldn't do much, having not only the academy teachers as opponents, but also several top heroes, including Endeavor. Naturally, the transmission was cut off at this point, and while each and every one of the villains present were arrested, Mirko quickly ran towards the ambulances so that they could treat the serious wounds that Izuku had all over his body as soon as possible. Quickly, Momo, without wasting time, got into the ambulance where Izuku was and ordered the paramedics to take him to the private hospital whose owners were his parents. For her part, Shiko tried to take a step forward as well, but when she heard her father's voice behind her, she stopped. Endeavor, so it's that brat you've been distracting yourself with. Shiko, clenching her fists and looking at him angrily, don't bother, old man, I'm not in the mood. Endeavor, don't forget what your mission is. You have to surpass Almight and everything it represents, putting his hand on his daughter's shoulder, and that includes that brat who is clearly related to him. Shiko, clenching her fists harder as she is about to bleed, I know. Taking her father's hand away and walking away from the place. Midoriya, why of all people did you have to be related to Almight? Watching how the ambulance that Izuku and Momo were in was leaving completely alone, it's not fair. Nizu, in front of the teachers, we must recover the security recordings. Power Loader, take care of that. Power Loader, understood. Heading to the place where they store them. Snipe, what the hell happened? Unbelieving what he saw, how can a child have so much strength? Present Mike, Aizawa. Heading towards his friend. Nizu, Midnight, Vlad, you guys help the paramedics treat the possibly injured, the rest of you help the police take away the villains. All teachers, yes. Nizu, according to what the student Mineta said, that thing had the strength to kill All Might, and I don't think the villains would risk so much if they didn't believe it was true. Turning his head, seeing how the ambulance where Izuku was going began to disappear from sight. I must find a way to stop a power like that if necessary. Unknown location, inside a bar. Tamura, falling to the ground, we were completely defeated. Our minions were defeated immediately. And All Might wasn't even there, clenching his fists tightly, but that kid, no, that monster. He was able to fight the Nomu, and when looking at a screen you were totally wrong, sensei. AFO, no, I wasn't, I was just too optimistic. If the Nomu was defeated by a child, it is very possible that he is the new successor of One for All. What happened to the Nomu's body? Kurogiri, I'm afraid that boy's last attack was so strong that it sent him flying far away and we've lost him. AFO. It's a shame even though I went as far as to burden them with several quirks to compete with Almight. But well, it can't be helped. Tamura, sensei, were you following the broadcast? AFO. No, I've been very busy with the doctor with the new test subjects for the Nomus. But don't worry, now you know that kid is stronger than you think, and you'll be more prepared for next time. By the way, do you know his name? Kurogyri. I'm afraid not. They never said it, and I doubt the media would reveal it because he is a minor. AFO, I understand. Well, there's no rush to get the OFA yet, Tamura. With this new information, gather a new group to get the highest possible efficiency, no matter how long it takes you. Tamura, understood, sensei, watching the screen go black. Unknown location. AFO, sitting connected to several machines, so finally there is a new successor. That explains why Almight has been so inactive lately, taking an old photograph out of his coat. Damn Almight, it's your fault I haven't been able to see them again. Saving the photo again while getting up from his seat. Garaki, standing several meters behind Master, will you leave Tamura alone for now? AFO, yes, he must learn to take care of himself more. Walking towards the doctor, the news from outside can wait. What is most important to me now are the Nomus, smiling maliciously. After that, 2 days had passed since the USJ attack. Naturally, complaints from parents about the safety of their children were not long in coming, so much so that the director himself had to come out and apologize to all of them and announce that measures were already on the table to ensure the safety of all students. Another thing that happened was the incessant questions from the press to know the identity of that young green-haired man. But both Detective Tsukachi and the Yaoyorozu prevented his personal information from being leaked, and when they thought that some old colleagues would talk, they were surprised that no one said anything. So resigned, they had no choice but to wait for it to be revealed at the sports festival. Private hospital, 2 days later, Izuku's room. Izuku, slowly opening his eyes. What happened? Noticing that he was in a white room that looked very luxurious. Where am I? I see you're finally awake. Izuku, turning his head to the side, noticing a blonde girl about his age. Who are you? Why do I feel like I've seen you before? My name is Melissa, smiling, heading towards the exit. Melissa, shield, let me tell Uncle Might that you're awake. Izuku, Uncle Might? Remembering everything that happened suddenly, what happened to everyone? Are they okay? Trying to get up, but the strong pain in his body prevented him. Even so, he continued. Are Todoroki san and Yamamoto okay? Melissa, all your friends are fine, don't worry. It's true what Uncle Might said, he seems to care a lot about his friends. Smiling, let me tell everyone that you're awake. Leaving the room, I'll be right back. Izuku, thank goodness, lying back down on the bed. It's good that they're safe. But looking at his right hand, which had new scars, what were those rays? And more importantly, what was that voice? Remembering that moment and getting lost in his thoughts. And why did it make me feel nostalgic when I heard it? Unable to think anymore when a loud noise takes him out of his thoughts. All Might, Izuku! Bursting into his successor's room. I'm so glad you're okay. Hugging him with some force, causing pain to his still injured body as he separated. I am sorry. Izuku, All Might. Why? Shedding a few small tears. All Might, hugging him again, but more carefully. You were scared, right? Feeling him nod, and yet you acted with more courage than anyone I've ever seen before. Izuku, but All Might, true courage does not consist in never being afraid, it consists in facing it even when you are afraid and doing the right thing. Deepening the hug a little more, and that is why I am very proud of you, and I hope you have the right to be brave. Melissa, leaning on the door frame. You are a great teacher, Uncle Might. All Might, Melissa? Quickly changing the subject and quickly separating from her successor. What can I say? I see in young Midoriya a great potential as a hero, haha. Melissa, and with what you demonstrated in that transmission, I have no doubt about that. Pointing to Izuku, you already know my name and Uncle Might told me yours, but anyway, nice to meet you, Midoriya-san. Izuku, nice to meet you, Shield-san, corresponding to the introduction. Melissa, confusing Izuku. I'm more comfortable being called by my name. Izuku, it's okay. And Melissa blushes a little because it's the first time he calls a girl by her name. I know that abroad they call each other by their name, but still I just hope Yamamoto doesn't find out. Melissa, I guess you're wondering why I came, right? heading to a table to turn on a computer. I'll show you the reason. Izuku, signaling to his teacher, pointing at a distracted Melissa and speaking in a low voice she knows. Almight, shaking head knowing what Izuku meant. Melissa, this is why, showing on her computer a model of Izuku's arm wearing a glove. When Uncle Might visited Island, he spoke to my dad about how hard it is for you to control your quirk without hurting yourself. That's why he asked him for the favor of helping you, but since he's very busy with the exhibition, I'll take care of helping you. Holding Izuku's arm, looking at his scars. Judging by what I saw in these wounds, I'll have to make several designs and make them when I get home. After that, and Izuku's gratitude towards his new acquaintance, they stayed talking for a little longer until, imitating All Might's action again, Inko suddenly entered the room, scaring everyone present and with a big hug towards her son, which caused her pain again. She cried when she saw that he had woken up, and behind her came Mr. Yaoyorozu and of course Momo. Inko, I am glad you're okay. Izuku crying in her son's arms while everyone smiled seeing that scene except Momo and you. Pointing to All Might, who was scared. Aren't you supposed to be his teacher? Approaching All Might, causing him to back away in fear. Yagi-san told me that you swore to always be with him, and look how things ended. All Might, I am sorry, trembling with fear in a corner before the fury of a mother. Momo, Midoriya-kun ignoring all the commotion to approach his friend's side. Izuku, Yamamoto noticing how his hair covered his eyes. Are you okay? What's wrong? Momo, fool. Looking up, showing that she was crying. Fool. 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 Hitting Izuku's chest multiple times, not caring that it hurt. How could you face that thing all alone? Starting to cry on Izuku's chest. I was so worried about you, fool. Izuku, I'm sorry for worrying you so much, patting his hair, but I don't regret it. Making Momo look him in the eyes, since it was thanks to that he was able to protect you. And Todoroki-san smiling lightly. At that, Momo couldn't control her big blush, and so that no one could see her, she put her face on Izuku's chest while with a sweet voice she only said thank you, causing various reactions. For his part, Izuku blushed because of that, but without being able to hide it. His mothers could only put a mischievous smile on their lips. Ryuji was about to intervene, but just one look from AI was enough for him to be frozen in the act. All Might and Melissa just smiled seeing that. After that, everyone talked for several minutes. Momo and Melissa, although they had known each other for a long time through their parents' jobs and contact, had never had the opportunity to talk so much. Inko and AI, for some reason that no one understood, moved away a little and began to talk more quietly while occasionally looking at Izuku and Momo. For his part, All Might asked Ryuji if he could host Melissa at his house while she designed the gloves and some improvements for Izuku's hero costume, to which he immediately accepted happily. It was a very calm environment with the occasional laugh. But Izuku could feel that something was missing there. He felt like he was not complete, and in his mind he could only think about Shuko and how much he would also like to have her there at that moment visiting him. It was at that moment that he noticed how someone was watching them through a small opening in the door, and he could notice how it was Shuko being happy about that. Izuku, Todoroki-san, about to call her, but is interrupted. Ryuji, well, I guess it's time for Midoriya-kun to finish resting and recovering, don't you think? All Might, you're right, approaching his successor to hug him and whisper, later we'll talk about what David told me, separating from the hug. Izuku, yes sure, not caring much about wanting to call Shuko, but noticing how she had already left. Todoroki-san. Ryuji, one last thing, Midoriya-kun, getting everyone's attention, thank you very much for protecting Momo. Making a big bow. As a father, you don't know how relieved I am that my daughter is safe, and it's all because of you. You have my eternal gratitude. Getting up from the bow. AI, you also have my gratitude. Midoriya-kun smiling sweetly, and with what we saw there is no doubt that one day you will be one of the greatest heroes. Izuku, don't worry, Ryuji-san. AI-san looking at the adults and then looking at Momo. Yamamoto is a very important person to me, causing Momo to blush and Ryuji to twitch. We also promise to help each other. Momo, Midoriya-kun approaching his friend as his blush became more evident. Thanks again for saving me from that thing, making a decision, that's why I want to give this to you. Approaching his face to give him a kiss on the cheek, causing a big blush, and Izuku making him look like a strawberry. Ryuji, hey! He was about to complain, but he could feel his wife pinching him on the side and looking at him with a sweet smile that meant something else. Honey? AI, Era squeezing the pinch harder while whispering, "You're not thinking of opposing the happiness of our dear daughter, right, love?" Ryuji, answering him, also in whispers of course not, honey, watching how his daughter separated from Izuku's face with a beautiful smile, sensing the worst. "Give me back my gratitude, Midoriya." Inko, Hasashi, smiling, watching the scene, "I wish you were still with us to see our son grow up together." Melissa, that must feel nice, remembering part of her childhood. I hope one day to find someone like that. Todoroki residence, half an hour later. Fuyumi, noticing her sister had arrived, "Welcome home, Shuko, how did it go?" Not receiving an answer, watching her walk away without saying anything. "Shuko? Hey! Shuko, leave me alone!" Entering her room and slamming the door. Fuyumi, Shuko, getting sad. "I don't know what happened, if you were changing little by little lately since you started having a friend." Shuko, curse damn, holding back the urge to cry as she entered her bathroom. "I was hoping that Midoriya wasn't really related to Almight, that the image I saw was just my imagination." Starting to wash her face. "If he lied to me with that, did he also do it with this?" Touching her scar and saying a single word, but not really knowing if she was saying it to her scar or to herself in general. Horrible. Private hospital, next day, departure, half day. Tashinori, walking next to his successor while wearing a hood. "Are you sure you're okay?" Izuku, "Yes, but my body still hurts a bit," placing a hand on his chest for a few seconds. "By the way, is it necessary to wear this hood?" Tashinori, "If you don't want the press to recognize you and surround you in a matter of minutes to ask you endless questions." Noticing how Izuku got a bit worried, "I have just that idea. I'll show you my techniques to evade them later, haha," putting a hand on Izuku's shoulder. "I'm sorry again for not having been there to protect you." Izuku, "Don't worry, master. But getting serious, what did you talk to your friend about, that?" Tashinori, looking around making sure no one heard them. "His hypothesis is that when you inherited that, it not only amplified your strength, but also your senses. And with respect to those rays, he assumes that it is the remaining energy that your body still cannot control." Izuku, "I see. But with the case of the senses, I don't think that's the case." Staring at his teacher, "Don't take me for crazy for what I'm going to say," but pausing since he wasn't sure he would believe him. Tashinori, "Izuku, I know you and I've been with you for a whole year. If you tell me that what you're going to tell me is true, I'll believe you." And with those words of support, Izuku began to tell him absolutely everything that happened from the moment the Noma sent him flying against the stairs, and how, on the verge of losing consciousness, he heard a voice in his head, and that thanks to it he was able to use one for all on his entire body at the same time. Although All Might believed him, he couldn't explain anything about that voice since he had never experienced anything like that, so he only came to the conclusion that they would both have to go directly to David so that he could fully analyze Izuku and solve that mystery. Izuku, "By the way, how did your friend take knowing the secret?" Tashinori, "At first he was angry for not having told him before, then he was glad that something like that was in good hands now, only to then get angry again because Ryuji didn't know." Izuku, "Your friends don't get along?" Tashinori, "Oh no, they do. It's just that sometimes they are very competitive with each other. But other than that, they are very good people and better parents." Izuku, "I see, that explains why Melissa doesn't know anything about the secret, just like Yamamoto." Tashinori, "Exactly, but let's move on to something more important." Getting a little serious while looking at Izuku, "The sports festival will be very soon, you know that, right?" Noticing how Izuku nods, "The academy will give them a week to prepare. That's why we'll not only use that time for your body to fully recover, we'll also focus on getting you back to using that throughout your body without hurting yourself. Are you ready to increase the intensity of your training?" Izuku, "Of course." Tashinori, with a big smile, "That's the attitude." After that they continued talking for a while until they finally arrived at Izuku's apartment, and All Might said goodbye to him, telling him to rest well and to prepare for when he goes to the academy tomorrow because of his classmates' questions. UA Academy Class 1A, next day. Izuku, "Good morning," entering the classroom with Momo. Everyone, generating a deep silence only for almost everyone to get up from their seats a second later. Midoriya. Kirishima, "Dude, you were amazing fighting that thing. Getting closer, you looked like a real man defending Yayorozu and Todoroki." Uraraka, "Are you better now?" Worried about her friend? Did that thing hit you really hard? Izuku, thanks for worrying about me. Happy to feel appreciated by his classmates, and don't worry, I'm better now. The doctors at Yamamo's parents' hospital are really good. Aizawa, you're lucky. The old recovery girl was very exaggerated, entering the classroom covered like a mummy. Everyone, Aizawa-sensei. Surprised to see their teacher like that. He looks like a mummy. Tsuyu, raising her arm. Sensei, are you okay? Uraraka, can you really call that being okay? Aizawa, don't worry about me. After all, staring at his students, the battle is not over for you yet. Mineta, more villains. Scared, trying to hide under his seat. Aizawa, it's not that. By battle I mean that the Academy's sports festival is about to take place. Izuku, what Almight said. Siro, wait a minute. Raising his hand to draw attention. If the villains have already infiltrated the Academy facilities, what guarantees that they won't do it again? Aizawa, I understand your concern, but this time is different. In the words of the director, this is a message for the villains to tell them that we have everything in order, and that they will not be able to get away with it. Noticing how some students calmed down, there is also the fact that many heroes, including some of the top ones, will be present. Watching them glancing sideways at Izuku and Shuko, some more than others. Harakure, raising hand. Sensei, there's something I don't understand. Why, if at the sports festival everyone will know our names, they didn't let it be leaked to Midoriya after the broadcast? Aizawa, according to the director, it is so that no one has an advantage over the other when the professionals decide who to choose for internships, although personally this reason does not convince me. Another question. Not receiving an answer. Okay, let's start with the class. While Aizawa was giving his class to his students, both Bakugo and Ida, who had curiously remained silent, could only clench their fists with great frustration and anger at how, according to them, they were overshadowed by Izuku, so they had decided that no matter what they had to do, they would win the sports festival. And when they finally finished class and it was time for lunch, Izuku tried to invite Shuko to eat with her, only for her to completely ignore him, making him sad because it was the second time she had done that to him. That was something that surprised many, since not many days ago she seemed to never want to leave his side. And that was noticed by Bakugo. Tsuyu, walking with everyone to the dining room. Midoriya, now that we have time, I thank you for saving me from that villain, but I have some questions. Wasn't your quirk supposed to increase your strength? Putting her finger on her chin. Also, what were those rays? Kirishima, yes, old man, and you showed much more strength than before. Izuku, well, a little nervous from receiving so many looks. My quirk is not about super strength as such. It consists more of accumulating energy with which I can then increase my strength, and those rays were the energy that my body still could not control. Kaminari, panic, does that mean that when I control her I'll be replaced? Causing laughter in his companions. So the hours passed where every time he had the opportunity Izuku tried to at least greet Shuko, but she ignored him every time, causing Bakugo to only smile at that, and so it continued until the day was finally over. Yui Academy Class 1A, end of day. Momo, are we going, Midoriya-kun? Izuku, yes, discouraged, looking at Shuko being noticed by Momo. Momo, don't worry Midoriya-kun, she might just be concentrating for the sports festival, trying to cheer up her friend. I should be happy that Todoroki-san doesn't stick to Midoriya-kun that much, but I don't like seeing him depressed either. Uraraka, opening the door, but what? Seeing a bunch of students outside the classroom calling the attention of their classmates. Mineta, they are crowding at the exit, what are they here for? Bakugo, they're spying on the competition, retard. Standing in front of everyone, they want to see the guys who came out alive from the villain's ambush. They're examining us before the big battle. Smiling arrogantly, there's no point in trying, so why don't you just go to hell, damn crowd. Shinso, and who said that we came to see all of you? The only one we are interested in seeing is him, pointing at Izuku while staring at Bakugo. He was the only one who stood out besides Endeavor's daughter against the villains, putting on a mocking smile, not like others who were defeated in one hit. Bakugo, what did you say, damn? Creating explosions in his hands. Momo, stop Bakugo. Approaching as the class president, I can't allow this behavior. Bakugo, shut up. I about to raise his hand, but Izuku quickly stops him. What do you think you're doing, damn Deku? Trying to break free, let me go. Izuku, I won't do it. Squeezing Bakugo tightly. I won't allow those explosions to hurt the people I care about. Generating light rays in his hands. Jiru, raising an eyebrow. People he cares about, huh? Seeing a slightly blushing Momo. It seems it will be easier for me to help you, girl. Shuko, seeing those rays and suddenly getting up from the spot, trying to leave the room. Bakugo, TCH, stopping, struggling so that Izuku would let him go. Listen to me, well, you useless bastard. The damn stroke of luck you had will not be repeated. Staring at him with a look full of fury. I will be the one who wins the sports festival. Seeing Shuko leave and you. Approaching her quickly to take her by the chin. When I prove that I am the best man, I will let you have a date with me. Mina, frowning, I'm not going to let that jerk ruin my ship, about to intervene like Izuku, but there was no need. Shuko, don't touch me, speaking in an extremely cold tone and holding his wrist, beginning to freeze at you. Disgust me. Immediately the atmosphere itself had become colder. No one could define if it was because of the quirk or the girl's attitude. Bakugo had no choice but to remove his hand because of the pain the ice was causing him, and leaving the classroom while pushing everyone who was in his way, assuring that it would not stay that way. For her part, Shuko also left the classroom in the opposite direction to Bakugo, but without the need to push anyone since everyone moved away from her, and for one last time Izuku tried to call her, but she continued to ignore him. Shinso, are everyone in this class like this? Momo, I'm sorry about that, but not everyone is like that. Staring at Shinso, if you already saw what you wanted, could you let us through? Shinso, we just want to say one last thing before we go. Staring at Izuku, depending on the results of the festival, students from other areas may be subject to review to be transferred to the hero department, so take this as a declaration of war. After that scene, everyone returned to their homes, and on the way Izuku could only look out the window very distracted. Momo did not need any mind-reading quirk to know who he was thinking about. At that she became sad, but without really knowing the reason. She did not understand if it was because of the mere fact of seeing her best friend like that, or because of the fact that he was thinking so much about another girl. A week of arduous training had passed, where Izuku, helped by Gran Torino, finished cleaning the Dagoba beach using one for all on his entire body, or as he called it, full cowl, managing to keep it stable at 3%, and if he tried hard he could raise it to 5%, but that was already causing him pain. Plus, both Almight and Gran Torino had agreed to tell him about the Great One for All mission after the sports festival. During her breaks she would go to the Yayarosa mansion, where Melissa would mediate and analyze her results, with which she would create different designs to later test them in her own workshop. During that time Melissa became a friend to Izuku and Momo, but although she tried not to show it, she was still thinking about Shuko. Although Melissa had already finished obtaining all the necessary data, she was invited by All Might to watch the sports festival with them, so she accepted in order to support her new friends, and when the day arrived she met Inko, who was also invited by All Might so that she could directly support her son. The security was really impressive because of the number of heroes there were. Not only was All Might and Endeavor there, the heroines Mirko and Ryukyu were in the observation room, very aware of a certain student, so people were calm knowing that no villain would dare to attack them. UA Academy Stadium. Reporter, the security check for the entrance took too long. Somewhat irritated, at least we will finally know the identity of that boy who fought against that thing. Cameraman, I think a lot of people here and at home are also waiting to know your name. Reporter, amazing. Getting excited. This year the ratings will be much higher. The eyes of the world will be on Class 1A, but especially on that boy. Stadium, waiting room, Class 1A. Mina, damn, I really wanted to wear my hero costume. Pouting. Ojiro, not allowed in order to balance the playing field. Shuko, Midoriya standing in front of Izuku. Izuku, happy to hear her voice again. Todoroki-san being interrupted by her. Shuko, objectively speaking, you are the strongest in the class. Looking at him seriously, I'm still going to defeat you. Mina, oh no, not liking it, thinking that her ship was in danger. Kaminari, oh, a declaration of war between the strongest boy and girl in the class. Bakugo, angry, what the hell are you talking about? I'm the strongest. Kaminari, I'm traveling, nobody believes you after seeing Midoriya's fight against that thing they called Noma. Bakugo, TCH staring at Izuku, you'll see, I'll completely crush this useless bastard who only had one lucky break, clenching his fists tightly. Momo, Todoroki-san. Approaching them, why have you been ignoring Midoriya-kun like that until today? Clearly angry, don't you see that? Shuko, interrupting her, I'm not here to play and make friends. Clenching her fists, which trembled at those words, and much less with a liar. Izuku, Todoroki-san, noticing her fists shaking, I don't know what you're trying to say by telling me all that, but staring her straight in the eyes, I feel like that's something you don't want to say. Shuko, opening her eyes in surprise only to then leave without saying anything else. Izuku, watching his friend leave, Todoroki-san, I don't know what's wrong with you, but slightly clenching his fists, I promise I'll help you. Sports Stadium, announcer's booth. Present Mike, grabbing the microphone tightly, the UA Sports Festival where the trainees of the hero world aim for the top. Our annual grand contest. And let me ask you all, did you come to see them, right? Causing everyone in the stadium to scream in excitement, the newly arrived miraculous stars who with nerves of steel took care of a massive attack of villains. From the heroism department, seeing how the students appeared in the stadium. Freshman Class 1A. Chapter 9, A Promise. Stadium, waiting room Class 1A, a few minutes before. Momo, okay, they're going to announce our departure. Standing at the exit, everyone leave in an orderly manner. Bakugo, you don't tell me what to do, leaving violently and looking sideways at Izuku and Shuko. TCH, you'll see, I'll show everyone that I am and always will be the strongest. Momo, looking reproachfully at Bakugo, this guy never changes. The others go out with more manners and not like a savage, making everyone pay attention to him. Izuku, heading towards Shuko. Todoroki-san, Shuko, don't talk to me, turning her back and starting to leave the room. It will be our actions that will make things clear from today between us, leaving completely while clenching her fists. After all, Momo, staying alone with his friend Midoriya-kun, noticing Izuku somewhat down. I don't know what happened to Todoroki-san, but you have to concentrate on the festival, giving him a warm smile. After all, I've seen how you've worked harder than anyone else to be here. Also having a defiant smile, I won't be left behind either, and I plan to reach the final, and if I have to fight against you, don't doubt that I'll go all out trying to cheer him up. Izuku, thinking for a few seconds, you're right. I promised my mom and my teacher that I would do my best, and I can't let them down. Besides, thinking about Shuko, if I want to help Todoroki-san, I can't be like this all the time. Having a big smile, thank you very much for your help as always, Yamamoto. Momo, why yes, blushes a little. I am going out. Don't be long, leaving the room quickly while having her hand on her chest. What's happening to me? Why am I so happy that you thank me, and at the same time it hurts me that you think so much about Todoroki-san? Shaking her head from side to side, no, I also have to follow the words I said to Midoriya-kun and concentrate, walking quickly to catch up with her classmates. Later I'll ask Mom what's wrong. Izuku, leaving the room as well, seeing his companions in the distance. Well, it's time to see the results of the training, taking a step when he hears someone behind him running too late, and they fall to the ground. I am sorry, are you okay? Getting up quickly from the ground without seeing Izuku's face, I just wanted to look for someone before the sports festival starts. Izuku, don't worry, I'm fine. This would have been a good time for that strange feeling to happen again. Getting up from the ground and staring at her, you said you were looking for someone, right? If you tell me who I am. It's you with wide eyes, it's you I wanted to see. Very excited, sticking close to Izuku. Izuku, I blushes a little at the closeness, but I don't know you. I know, smiling widely to separate, but I do know you. Or well, what I could see of you on television when you fought with that thing, that was really incredible. Especially because of all the blood you spilled. That's why I came here without permission just for this. Taking a small notebook and pen out of his pocket, would you give me your autograph? Izuku, what? Not believing his words, but I'm still a student, and what does that matter? Excited. Izuku, I thinking for a few seconds and feeling somewhat happy. I've always been the one who has asked for the heroes' autographs, and now someone is asking me for it. Is always good. I still don't have a signature as such, nor a hero name. Would it help if I just put my name? Yeah. Izuku, okay, writing his name in that notebook and handing it to him. Thank you very much. Reading the boy's name, Izuku Midoriya? Izuku, Yes, smiling and turning around to start walking down the hall. Now I don't want to be rude, but I have to go to the stadium and you shouldn't be here. Toga putting away the notebook while smiling. My name is Toga Himiko. Good luck during the sports festival. You have my full support. Izuku, thank you very much. Himiko-san walking away from the girl, speaking to her for the last time. Get out before someone sees you and don't do something like this again. Toga, yes. You are very kind, Izuku-kun, putting on a twisted smile while no one was looking. I already want to see you bleed like that again, but by my own hands. Walking away from the place while his expression became more sinister. Now I just have to get out of this place. How lucky that because of that stupid law for the protection of minors my face is not known by many people. Sports stadium, announcer's booth, present. Present Mike, grabbing the microphone tightly. The UA Sports Festival where the trainees of the hero world aim for the top. Our annual grand contest. And let me ask you all, did you come to see them right? Causing everyone in the stadium to scream in excitement, the newly arrived miraculous stars who with nerves of steel took care of a massive attack of villains. From the heroism department, seeing how the students appeared in the stadium. Freshman Class 1A. Sports Stadium. Izuku, coming out of the tunnel a few seconds after his companions. Sorry for the delay. Momo, where were you? I was just about to go look for you. Izuku, I ran into a girl who got lost, and I was just giving her directions. Mineta, hearing that, you bastard, knowing you were already falling in love with her. Izuku, blushes a little. Of course not. Watching Momo pout. I'm serious. Uraraka, I believe Midoriya-san, looking at everyone. He is someone who helps everyone who needs it regardless of whether it causes him problems, remembering how Izuku saved her from 0 points. Momo, well, it can't be helped. Stopping pouting, that's how you are. Shuko, listening to that only increases her internal conflict. Izuku, thanks for believing me. Smiling and looking at all the people in the stadium. I've always seen how this place filled up every year on television, but seeing it live is a very different feeling. Getting a little nervous. Kirishima, listening to all the screams from the spectators. They're really praising us. I'm starting to get nervous. Announcer's room. Present Mike, watching the other classes come out of the tunnel, and they are followed by the other student members of Class B and then Class C, D and E from the General Education Department, and behind them are Classes F, G and H from the Support Department, and now the Administration Department, naming the others without any kind of encouragement in his voice. Sports Stadium. General Course student, man, they treat us like we're filler or something, what a pain. As always, all attention falls solely on Class A. And it's not even like that this year. Look who has all the attention this year, staring at Izuku. Since everyone saw his fight with that monster, everyone only talks about him. Midnight, cracking her whip very well. On a platform, everyone listen to me. I don't expect anything other than fair play, you hear? Stands. Extra heroes, hey, look at that. It's the plus 18 heroine Midnight. She's the referee for the first years this time. Where is the director? As always, he is supervising the third year area. Reporter, pointing his cameras towards Izuku. We will finally know the name of that boy who is causing such a stir right now. Cameraman, boss, don't forget that we can also ask about the recent cases of missing youth from that old high school that closed a while ago. Reporter, you're right. But we can do that after the festival is over. What will give us more views and ratings now is that boy without taking his eyes off Izuku at any time. Sports Stadium. Tokoemi, wait, did they say plus 18? Even though this is just an academy? Is that really okay? Midnight, silence. Hitting his whip against the ground. My staying here is perfectly fine. Looking at the students now, the representative of Class 1A, Katsuki Bakugo, comes forward. Izuku, huh? Incredulous, really, he's our representative? Shouldn't it be Yamamoto, who is the class president? Siro, the one who always comes first in the entrance exam, is the one who talks, remember? Izuku, this can only go wrong. Bakugo, going up on the platform. I swear I'm going to come first, and all of you will only feel the sole of my shoe. Izuku, exhaling while his hand held his forehead. I knew he was going to say something like that. Stands. Extra heroes, he says he will be the best, but we all saw how he and Ingenium's little brother couldn't do anything against that monster that attacked the students. Yes, even though he has a strong quirk, if he receives good training he could become much stronger. Will he send them a request? Surprised, didn't you see how arrogant he is? With those outbursts and personality he would only cause a lot of damage to the property, and my small agency would not be able to cover so many expenses. Private stands? Inko. It's incredible how Katsuki changed so much for the worse since he was a child. Shaking head. I still can't believe they accepted him into this academy knowing everything he did to my son. Looking with some anger. Toshinori. I know, but Director Nizu believes that his stay at the academy can make him change his attitude, or in the worst case, know how to control him, although I still don't approve of that mentality. Melissa, excuse me staring at the adults. Do you know when Uncle Might is coming? Inko. I also have that doubt looking at Toshinori. He is my son's teacher, but all I see is Yuyagi-san. Toshinori. Oh shit, thinking quickly of an excuse while he's busy right now with some important matters. Seeing Melissa's disappointed face. But he told me that he wants to see young Midoriya's third round fights, so when that time comes I'll go continue with his work. Cheering Melissa up. Thank goodness, since I took this vacation as a hero I have a lot of time available to be in that shape. Inko. It must be hard being his assistant. Toshinori. Don't worry, Mrs. Midoriya, and the pay is very good. Ha ha ha. Melissa. I hope Izuku does well. Inko. Don't worry, dear, I'm sure he'll do his best, and even more so if his greatest hero trains him. Making Toshinori very proud of those words. More importantly, I found out that you will help my son improve his hero suit. Making a slight bow. Thank you very much for that. Melissa. Don't worry, Mrs. Midoriya. Smiling. In the short time I've known Izuku I can say that I already see him as a good friend, and if I want to be like my father then I have to help with my support teams the great future hero that he will become. Inko, smiling warmly as she watched her son next to his classmates. Izuku, you don't know how happy I've become to see you have genuine friends for the first time in your life. Ryukyu, in another room of the private stands. Remind me why you dragged me here. Mirko again? With his feet on a table. I already told you that to see the performance of that brat who kicked that monster's ass. Looking at her out of the corner of his eye, and depending on how he does it I will tell him that his internships will be with me. Ryukyu, raising an eyebrow. You sending a letter? Mirko, who said I would send a stupid letter? Grinning fiercely. I'll just go and tell him that his internship will be with me whether he wants it or not. Ha ha ha. Ryukyu, giving a heavy sigh. You never change, only making Mirko laugh harder. Sports Stadium. Class B students, don't bet on luck. Class 1A. Clearly outraged. Why do they insist on discrediting our image? Son of a hitch. Bakugo, you'll be perfect stepping stones, I'm sure. Getting off the platform, especially your damn Deku. Making everyone look at him like an idiot, although he didn't care. Midnight. Alright, with that we can move straight to our first event. Turning on a screen behind her. Uraraka, as always, the UA does not rest. Midnight, in the preliminaries, as they are called. A lot of good people end up drowning in their tears here every year. And the first round this year is pointing to the screen obstacle race, starting to explain what it consists of. It's a race between the 11 classes. The track runs for 4 kilometers around the stadium, announcing as all the students headed to the starting line they are free to do anything, anyone, as long as they stay within the track. On their marks, seeing that everyone was already in position. Bakugo, you'll see, starts generating sparks from his hands. I'm going to come in first place in all the tests. Shuko, looking at Izuku out of the corner of her eye for a second. I have to get over him, ready to use her ice. Midnight ready. Izuku, these weeks of training will not be in vain. Closing his eyes to concentrate, one for all, generating small rays throughout his body, full cal 3%. Causing many to see it. Extra students, whispering, hey, are you watching that? Yes, that's the guy with that incredible power. Isn't it kind of unfair that we compete with someone so strong? Unable to continue whispering because of the loud scream of the professional heroine. Midnight start. Shuko, now, freezing the entire floor, trapping most of the students. Extra students, what the hell? Unable to move at all. I can't move. Damn, unable to do anything but watch as some of them didn't fall through the ice and moved forward. Announcer's booth. Hello, hello? Here I am broadcasting live. With microphone in hand and looking at the camera on this occasion, I am accompanied by the professional hero Eraserhead to narrate the events, and so that you who are at home do not miss any detail looking at his partner. Are you ready for this, Mr. Mummy? Aizawa, I had no choice since you dragged me here. Present Mike, that's the attitude. Ignoring Aizawa's words, any words about that first demonstration of your students? Aizawa, it's more than clear who has everyone's attention this year, referring to Izuku just to smile a little, although his bandages didn't show it, but you have to know that he's not the only one with great potential to be a hero. Career. Yaoyorozu, you'll have to try harder. Todoroki-san pushing himself forward thanks to having created an ice bar with the palm of his hand. Bakugo, creating explosions. I won't let you get away, damn two-faced. Accelerating the pace. Tokoemi, using dark shadow. We will not be left behind. Mina, melting ice. Izuku, jumping on the shoulders of the other students. That was close, but it's not enough to stop me. Shuko, TCH, seeing that I knew that wouldn't stop him, but I didn't think so many of the class would also overcome it. Mineta, jumping straight towards Shuko. I'm not going to fall for stupidities. Todoroki, now receive my best move, rolling away after receiving a hit from a robot. Izuku, the villain bots of the entrance exam? Announcer's booth. Present Mike, watching the students advance. Here come the obstacles, and what a surprise that they came from the beginning. Clearly lying, the first barrier will be a robot hell. Announced while all the students saw dozens of giant robots approaching the students. Aizawa, although those are not the biggest of his concerns, frowning a little, although I did not agree with using them. Career. Extra students. Seeing some gigantic robots approaching them, it's the villain who was worth 0 points on the entrance exam, but now there are more. Terrified. Wait, are you telling me the guys from the heroism department had to fight these things? There's too much to get through. Shuko, gosh, the least they could have done is put something more difficult in my way, putting her right hand on the ground and completely freezing one of the 0 points since my bucking old man is watching. Bakugo, propelling himself upwards with his explosions straight to the robot's head. I won't let anyone overshadow me again, throwing a gigantic explosion at him, destroying the 0 point's head. Private stands. Ryukyu, watching the race in detail on some monitors. That was undoubtedly a strong attack, but it would not be effective in closed places. It could not only injure nearby civilians, it could also damage the structure of several buildings. Looking at his partner, what do you think? Mirko, I don't care in the least about that kid who only knows how to bark. Without losing sight of Izuku, the only one I care about is him. I want to see how you'll get out of this, brat. Career. Izuku, there's only one robot left. Quickly approaching it, thinking about what to do. With my speed I could dodge it. But, looking behind him, noticing several students, if that thing fails again like when it attacked Uraraka-san, it could cause several injuries. Making a decision, I can't allow it. At that moment Izuku made a great leap towards the robot. Even though that would take away valuable seconds of advantage, he didn't care. For him the safety of the other students was more important. Being so tall, Izuku had to make several jumps on its great structure until he could finally reach its head. At that moment he increased the percentage of the OFA to 5% for a few brief moments, and with some difficulty he went through the robot's head, where once inside he began to destroy everything he could, causing it to deactivate and begin to fall to one side and exit it before the impact. Announcer's booth. Present Mike, completely shocked, but recovering quickly. Amazing. What great power. Those three are without a doubt very strong young men. Aizawa, it's not just them, pointing to his other students. The others are also giving their all to win this race. Seeing how Shiro and Tokoemi use their quirks to jump over the smaller robots, they have been in intimate contact with a world above their current capabilities. They faced it, and came out in one piece. That experience is the stimulus to overcome their limits. Seeing how Momo created a cannon and destroyed the head of another 0 point that appeared. Present Mike, looking at his classmate. Your class is really doing well. Looking at the camera, very well done, gentlemen. The first ones have already reached the second barrier. What are you going to do? If you fall, you're out. If you don't like the idea, maybe you can crawl. It's the fall. Career. Bakugo, this test is a bucking joke. Using his explosions to jump between the cliffs. Shuko, creating a bridge with her ice and destroying it once she passes. With this I won't be able to prove anything. Izuku, arriving somewhat tired from using the OFA at 5%. I don't like to admit it, but I agree with Bakugo on this, lowering the percentage to 3% and jumping from cliff to cliff. This is very easy. Private stands. Mirko, writing down several things in a notebook. Ryukyu, what are you doing now? Mirko, I'm writing down what he's been doing wrong when it comes to making those jumps. It's clear that he's been using his legs a lot in his training. Smiling as he closed the notebook, if he proves that he's worthy of my training, we'll have a lot to do. Ryukyu, I already feel some pity for that boy. Career. Mina, arriving at the second test. Bakugo, Midoriya and Todoroki make it look very easy. What do you think, Tsuyu? Tsuyu, crawling on rope, it's just a glorified tightrope walk. Kero. Uraraka, arriving next to a tired girl, I think I should stop eating so many matchas a day. Hatsum, Fufufu, now is my chance to shine. My support items will be the center of attention. Watch out for Japanese support companies. Mina, what? Looking at all the equipment she was carrying, can you bring items to the race? Hatsum, yes, you receive combat training, so to make things fair we are allowed to use support objects that we ourselves have created, throwing a hook which adheres to one of the cliffs for those of the support department like us. This is the opportunity to show our inventions and get the attention of the corporations throwing themselves towards the cliff and using their inventions to continue advancing. Uraraka, amazing, starting to pass the rope with Mina with those inventions. It won't take long to pass this test. Mina, shit. Speeding up as much as she could. I wish I could wear my hero suit too. Shinso, arriving at the test, seeing Hatsum pass it without problems. That's good, having a slight smile. Announcer's room. Present mic. Everyone is really motivated, but watching Shuko take the lead by sliding on her ice, they still can't catch up with the player in the lead. Stands. Extra heroes. That girl in the first place is on a different level. He has a very powerful quirk. He also has good judgment and good physical abilities. That's obvious. After all, she is the daughter of the hero Endeavor. Ugh. Now I understand. She carries the blood of the second best hero after Almight in her veins. Hey, calling the attention of his fellow professionals, don't you think that the boy who defeated that villain is showing much less strength than what we saw? Now that you say it, it's true. Is he still injured and that's why he can't perform at his best? I hope that is the case. It is because of him that I came here, and I do not want to be disappointed that what he showed was only momentary. Announcer's room. Present mic. And now contestant Shuko Todoroki has reached the final stage, noticing excitement the mines field. They are prepared in such a way that if you look closely you can see where they are. They are not lethal, but they are still mines. You must be careful, or you will end up with one or both legs broken. Aizawa, obviously that depends on the person looking at Izuku. What's wrong with you, Midoriya? You've already proven to be much faster than this. Career. Shuko, seeing the first mines on the ground, I see. These obstacles were designed to be a disadvantage for first place. But this will not stop me pushing herself with her ice, preventing the mines from exploding. Bakugo, passing by Shuko, this means nothing to me. Avoiding touching the ground with her explosions. Damn two-faced. You got the wrong person in your declaration of war. Smiling arrogantly, the strongest man in this damn academy will be me, and I will win this festival. Izuku, that's not true. Running and using 4% of the OFA, getting away from the mines before they explode. I'm not going to give up so easily, increasing to 5% and starting to slowly walk away, and I want to win the festival too. Bakugo, damn Deku, you won't leave me behind. Increasing his speed, creating more explosions, even though his arms already hurt. Shuko, frowning, I will not give up, using her ice to the maximum, gaining more speed. Announcer's room. Present mic, very excited, and the students Katsuki, Bakugo, Izuku, Midoriya, and Shuko Todoroki do not give up. To get to first place. Rejoice, media. Noticing how all the journalists were writing in their notes, taking photos or videos. This is exactly the kind of development that you begged for. Looking at his partner, damn Eraserhead, Your class is insane. What are you teaching them? Aizawa, I didn't do anything, it's all a result of mutual competition. Present Mike, all three are already about to finish the race, and no one should blink if they don't want to miss this close final. Career. Izuku, breathing with difficulty due to the pain in his body, curse, even though I'm using 5% my body is already getting tired, watching how Shuko and Bakugo were starting to overtake him, curse, clenching his fists, I want to win, I want to win. Clenching his teeth watching how Shuko and Bakugo were already entering the tunnel at the end of the race. I promised my mom and my teacher that I would win, without noticing how the Ofa was acting a little weird on his right foot. One last push. I just need one last push. It was at that precise moment that Izuku felt it, like that feeling of lightness or of knowing when something was about to hurt him appeared, but this time it was in his right foot, and the instant it touched the ground what Izuku wanted and needed so much happened, a great burst of speed pushed him forward. As if all the steps he had taken since the race began had been repeated in a single movement, but with all the accumulated strength. And in less than an instant, Izuku not only entered the tunnel, he had far surpassed Shuko and Bakugo, who could do nothing but watch his back as he crossed first. Unfortunately for Izuku, that burst of speed was so sudden that he couldn't react in time and ended up falling and then rolling onto the platform. The entire stadium was silent for a few seconds until the applause began to come out of the mouths of all the spectators and Present Mike made it official. Announcer's room. Present Mike, this is amazing. Extremely excited, the one who seemed to be slowing down the pace overtook his competitors in a single instant and took the victory with him. Looking at the equally excited press, the participant who takes first place in the obstacle race is none other than Izuku Midoriya. Stadium. Bakugo, what? Coming out of the tunnel again. Shit, damn it. Trembling with anger. Shuko, staring at Izuku, who was getting up in pain from that fall. Izuku, what was that? Looking at his right foot, that sensation was very similar, and at the same time different from the ones I've already had, thinking very seriously, one for all, what are you really? Announcer's room. Present Mike, and now finally, the other students are crossing the finish line. We will compile the results later, so for now enjoy your break watching how little by little all the other students were arriving. Private stands. Inko, congratulations Izuku. Shedding large amounts of tears from emotion. Tashinori, smiling with great pride, well done Izuku, even when it seemed like you weren't going to make it, you managed to surpass yourself again. Melissa, Izuku is amazing, smiling, although that last movement was very sudden. Mirko, excited in another room, that's what I was talking about. Smiling, he has the speed, now all that's left is the other tests. Ryukyu, impressed, wow, that was a real surprise, I'm sure he'll be a good student. Mirko, hey. Confusing his words, I already said that I'll be the one to train him. Ryukyu, relax, will you? Sighing, remember that in my agency I only accept women. Mirko, huh? Remembering that's true, looking at the students without apologizing. Stadium. Uraraka, Midoriya, tired, you were amazing, arriving next to Izuku, that last push with your foot was a surprise. Ida, looking at Izuku angrily to get away from everyone, how is it possible that I was in such a low position with my quirk? Damn, whispering. Uraraka, congratulations on first place. Izuku, thank you very much, seeing who arrived, becoming serious, excuse me for a moment, I have to take care of something important. Yayorozu, arriving tired, I can't believe it. You're the worst. Seeing how Izuku approached her with an annoyed face, Midoriya-kun, please get him off me. Revealing that Mineta was stuck to her back. Mineta, stuck to Momo's lower back, 2 pays with 1 shot, I'm a genius. Izuku, Mineta. Holding him by the collar, looking at him in such a way that he began to tremble with fear, I'm already getting tired of that attitude of yours. When the festival is over, you and I are going to talk, understood? Throwing him to the ground, apologized to Yamamoto. Staring at him now. Mineta, why yes. Scared, I am so sorry Yayorozu, I promise I won't do it again, bowing. Momo, clinging to Izuku's arm unconsciously, as long as it's true then there won't be any problems. Jiro, approaching both of them and putting on a somewhat mischievous smile. So you throw yourself into Midoriya-san's arms for help, huh? Causing both of them to blush and realize how close they were to instantly separate a little. Mina, pouting while looking at Shuko, what's wrong with you, girl? Can't you see that they're beating you in that race too? Wanting to talk to Shuko, but is interrupted by an announcement. Midnight, alright, that's how the results turned out. Getting everyone's attention, in total there are 42 students who made it to the next round, showing the list to everyone. The 42 at the top have earned the right to advance. And now, in the second event of this year's sports festival, it will be pointing to a screen human cavalry battle. You can freely form teams of 2 to 4 people. The rules are the same as those you all know. Take down the enemy riders and take care of your own, except for one thing. Everyone will receive points based on their position in the last test. The amount of points you are worth is 5 if you came in 42nd place, 10 if you came in 41st, 15 for 40th, and so on, except for first place, whose head is worth 10 million points. If I were you, I would aim for first place. This is the chance for the short to supplant the tall. Welcome to our survival game. All looking menacingly at Izuku. Izuku, oh no, getting extremely nervous. They haven't looked at me like this since I was in high school with Bakugo, gulping. Midnight, alright, you have 15 minutes, start putting together your teams. Making everyone look for equipment as fast as possible. Izuku, who? Being ignored by everyone, I knew it. No one wants to team up with me, everyone wants to go for the 10 million. Uraraka, Midoriya-san arriving next to Izuku, let's team up. Izuku, Uraraka? Surprise, are you sure? You know everyone will come for my points, right? Uraraka, yes, smiling, will be fine if we keep evading the other teams, plus widening her smile, I prefer to team up with my friend. Izuku, thanks, smiling back, let's find more people, looking everywhere. Yamamoto, do you want to team up with us? Momo, I'm sorry, Midoriya-kun, staring at him, but I'll have to reject your offer. Uraraka, but why? Confused, isn't he your best friend? Momo, that's precisely why, Midoriya-kun, you're an irreplaceable friend to me, and ever since I met you, we've spent a lot of time together, not only training, but you also saved me from that thing called the USJ's Noma. Smiling with great determination, that's why I don't want to always depend on you. I want to advance at the same pace as you. Also, giving him a light tap on the shoulder, remember that we promised to face each other in this festival. Smiling, so you better give it your best. Heading towards his group consisting of Shuko, Kaminari, and Ida. Izuku, Yamamoto, smiling, good luck. Seeing Uraraka, let's find 2 more people. Uraraka, does that not bother you? Not even the group in which it was done? Izuku, no, not at all. After all, this is a competition in which we face each other. Thinking about the group where he was, in fact, that group has a good strategy. Todoroki-san's short and medium range attacks, Ida's speed, Kaminari's area attack, and Yamamoto's versatility. Uraraka, if you say it like that, that just means we need to find those who can also form a good team. Hatsum, Fufufu, you will surely stand out, coming up behind Uraraka, scaring her. Let's team up for first place. Izuku, who are you? Hatsum, I'm Mei Hatsum from the support department. I don't know you, but I want to be able to use your position. The support department's purpose is to develop equipment to suit the hero's quirks, so I'm sure some of my babies will be of help. What do you say? Izuku, seeing all of Mei's inventions incredible, they remind me a bit of my friend Melissa's. Thinking for a few seconds, sure, let's team up. Hatsum, perfect. Now who will be our last member? Izuku, looking at his companions, everyone is already gathering in small groups, heading towards Tokoemiyu. Midnight, it's been 10 minutes, we'll start any minute now. Monoma, everyone only pays attention to Class A. Isn't the only difference between us that confrontation against the villains? Why should we from Class B be happy being placed so low? Looking at Izuku from a distance, I will show them that even that guy can't take on Class B. Announcer's room. Present mic. Next to a sleeping Aizawa, wake up Mr. Mummy, your 15 minutes are up. Waking him up, making him look at him a little badly, the next round is about to begin. Aizawa, looking at the students below in the stadium, it seems we have some very interesting teams. Present mic, raise your war cries, round 2 is about to begin. San. Izuku, are you ready? Being the rider Uraraka. Uraraka, standing on the right here. Izuku, Hatsum. Hatsum, standing on the left Fufufu. Izuku, Tokoyami. Tokoyami, standing in front yes dark shadow appearing which raised what seemed to be a thumb. Todoroki, being the rider Kaminari will be on the left, Yaoyorozu on the right creating insulators or other equipment that helps us and Ida at the vanguard acting as our speed force. Momo, I'm surprised you agreed to work on Team Ida. Ida, don't confuse things Yaoyorozu. If I agreed to be on this team it's because this is the one with the most possibilities of winning the 10 million points. The real question is why aren't you by that guy's side? Did you realize that he was a useless guy who was just lucky? Causing Momo and incredibly Shuko to look at him badly. Todoroki, Ida shut up and focus only on this. Your opinions don't interest us causing him to shut up and looking at Endeavor in the stands. I'm not going to use my fire abilities in any way. And with that the countdown said by President Mike began. Each and every one of the teams had a single objective and that was none other than the 10 million points. The lower the number the greater the pressure in the environment that was generated. Many already had their legs tense and their quirks ready to activate, and it was at that moment that everything began. Let's start. Tetsu, this is a war for the 10 million points. Being the first to launch himself at Izuku's team. Harakure, haha, Midoriya your points are mine. Tokoyami, 2 teams are coming to attack us right away. What do we do, Midoriya? Izuku, most of the teams will come for us. The best thing now would be to make a strategic retreat. Juzo, they won't escape activating his quirk, sinking Izuku's team into the ground. Uraraka, we're sinking. What kind of quirk is this? Trying to lift her foot. Izuku, everyone hold on tight activating the booster that May gave him and rising into the air. This is amazing, I would love to be able to fly. Hatsum, what do you think of my babies? Aren't they amazing? Screaming to be heard while using her inventions and being heard by everyone. Izuku, your inventions are awesome, Hatsum. Causing Melissa to pout at that comment. Hatsum, smiling right? Uraraka, pouting but I was the one who made everyone float whispering. Announcer's room. President Mike, look at that. It's not even 2 minutes in and the battlefield is in complete chaos. Each group is trying hard to steal the other's tape. They're not just focused on the 10 million. Aizawa, it's not bad to always want to go for the big prize. But if you only focus on that you don't realize the other opportunities you have around you. San. Shoji, running towards Izuku's team they won't escape. This is our victory. Izuku, Shoji? Landing next to his team is he alone? Watching more teams approaching anyway. More teams are approaching. Let's keep our distance. Uraraka, trying to move her foot, but can't. What is this? Looking at one of Mineta's spheres are these? Mineta, here I am Midoriya. Being inside the barrier that Shoji made with his arms. Izuku, is that allowed? Surprised. Midnight, of course approving that strategy. Izuku, dodging a tongue coming out from between Shoji's arms. Tsuyu is in there too? You're amazing Shoji. Tsuyu, you managed to dodge it showing her face in Shoji's arms just as I expected from you Midoriya. Izuku, seeing more teams approaching, at this rate they will corner us, I will have to do that, even though I don't like the idea. Hatsum, can your thruster still make another flight? Hatsum, he's almost out of fuel, if we want to do the same strategy he would have to receive some help. Why? Izuku, activating the OFA only in his hands for this. Concentrating all the power in his fingers on my signal activated. Hatsum, huh? Confused wait what are you planning to do being interrupted? Izuku, seeing how many teams were almost upon him do it now Hatsum san. After that May activated her thruster which by itself would not be enough to help them escape. But at that moment, and to the surprise of all the other people who did not see Izuku on his first day, with a movement of 2 of his fingers he released a great pressure of air which with the help of the thruster was more than enough to send them flying again, saving them from their attackers with the price that now Izuku had those fingers broken. Private stands? Tashinori, surprised, Izuku, that you had to resort to that again just means that we still have to work on strengthening your body so that your bones don't break. Inko, my son! Starting to cry and getting a little angry, I warned him not to use something like that again. I made Almight promise too. Frowning, when this festival ends I'm going to have to talk very seriously with both of them again. Tashinori, oh no, getting very nervous because of those words. Melissa, analyzing Izuku's movements, those gusts of air that he can create could be very useful. I suppose I can still make some additional modifications to the design of the gloves that I'm going to create for you. San. Uraraka, seeing Izuku's fingers worrying about him. Midoriya-san. Izuku, I'm fine bearing the pain. We still have to continue evading all the teams we can. Uraraka, but... Izuku, recovery girl can help me later. The most important thing now is being interrupted by a loud scream. Bakugo, Deku. Reaching them with his explosions. I hope you haven't forgotten about me, you damn bastard. Tokoyami, Dark Shadow. Using it as a shield, receiving all of Bakugo's attacks. Bakugo, what the hell, starting to fall. Zero, catching Bakugo and bringing him back to his team. I got him. Announcer's room. Present mic. The boys of Class A are really impressive. All this action has got us all really excited. Who would have imagined that facing off against the villains once would make such a difference? San. Izuku, landing with his team, that's what I meant. We can't let our guard down at any time. Monoma, what good advice. Too bad it's too late. Coming from behind, surprising everyone. Your quirk is really interesting for someone from Class A. I wonder what would happen if I copied it. Touching Izuku's back. Huh, not being able to feel anything different. Why doesn't it work? Looking at Izuku, which his team separated him from him. But for an instant he saw something that terrified him. Falling from his team, being disqualified. Tokoyami, what the hell steps? Izuku, we don't have time for that now. Seeing how more teams were approaching, we have to keep moving, making his team listen to him. While he thought about what happened, he said he copied my quirk, but it must have a time limit, because if that weren't the case he would use all the quirks he has copied in his life. Thinking more seriously about the matter, besides one for all, he has accumulated energy for many decades to be what he is today, so someone who is even just accumulating energy shouldn't be a problem. Monoma, breathing heavily, watching Izuku walk away while ignoring his team's complaints. What the hell was that? That wasn't normal at all. Trembling with fear. What kind of power does that guy have? And who are those people behind him? Remembering what he saw and scared him so much. Announcer's room. Present mic. Who knows what happened, but student Monoma has fallen to the ground, which means that he and his team are out. There are only a few minutes left until this stage ends. Will Izuku Midoriya manage to keep his points, or will he lose them to an opponent? Aizawa, analyzing everything that happened. According to the first-year records, that Monoma boy has the ability to copy the quirk of whoever he touches, so why didn't he use it against Midoriya? Looking at Izuku from afar while thinking about all the possibilities, if he couldn't use it, does that mean that apart from not being able to erase it, it can't be copied either? Frowning as he remembered all the times he's seen Izuku use his quirk. What kind of quirk do you have, Izuku Midoriya? San. Todoroki, arriving in front of Izuku's team. Midoriya staring at him. It's time for you to give me your points. Tokoyami, somewhat tired, one after another, laughing a little. They keep coming after us. You are famous, Midoriya. Izuku, there are only a few minutes left. It is when we can least trust ourselves. Todoroki, let's go. Ida. Ida, don't give me orders. Starting to run because I already know. Todoroki, Yaoyorozu raises defense and creates a weapon. Yaoyorozu, understood. Creating an insulator surrounding the entire team except Kaminari. Todoroki, Kaminari, you. Kaminari, I know, you better be careful electrocuting the teams that were around. Tokoyami, go Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow, yes. Bearing all the electricity while releasing a small tear. Todoroki, there are less than 5 minutes left. We don't need to be on the defensive anymore, using the Momo bar I think to freeze the other team's legs. Uraraka, they are too strong, we can't escape now. A little nervous. Tokoyami, I'll take care of this, go Dark Shadow. Yayorozu, creating a shield stopping the blow with great difficulty. How strong it is. Tokoemi, creation, that quirk is a headache. I must have a strategy in case I have to fight her in the next round. We must avoid Kaminari's discharges. After Bakugo Dark Shadow's attack, he has lost a lot of power. Izuku, just a little more. Activating the Ofa throughout his body in case someone comes to him no matter what happens, giving his last orders. We must prevent them from taking our points. Bakugo, Deku. Damn Two-Face. Arriving in front of both teams, I said it during the speech, I'm going to be number one. But I'm not going to be just any number one. I'm going to be the best number one in history. Creating many explosions of anger. Announcer's room. Present mic. Incredible, there is less than 1 minute left and Katsuki Bakugo, Izuku Midoriya and Shuko Todoroki face each other again to be in first place. We don't even have the chance to blink. Will they be able to take the points away from Midoriya, or will he be able to keep them? Aizawa. Midoriya's team has been avoiding the others this whole time, and while the other two have been constantly on the offensive, in these last moments it's a fight of endurance. San. Tokoemi, now we are in trouble. Ida, listen to me, getting the attention of his team. There are a few seconds left, and we have to get those damn points, so I'll tell you something. I have a new technique that will give us much more speed, but I can only use it once, so don't screw it up. Bakugo, lunging towards Izuku, damn useless. Uraraka, they caught us, we won't be able to defend ourselves from both of them at the same time. Tokoemi, damn. Izuku, thinking of a plan. Tokoemi, there is still a way, but Dark Shadow will have to endure a little longer. Are you ready? Looking at Dark Shadow, who gives him a thumbs up while whispering to them. Tokoemi, I don't know what you're planning, but I joined your team because I trust you, Midoriya. Izuku, one for all, full cal 5%, jumping away from his team to everyone's surprise. Now Tokoemi. Ida, what an idiot, running at full speed now. What nobody imagined was that Izuku's final strategy was a direct attack towards his two rival teams and recharging the entire one for all on two other different fingers. He fired 2 large blasts of air. Those were not as strong as the previous ones, so he did not break his fingers again, but it was enough to stop his advance. But unfortunately, Bakugo also abandoned his team, and propelled by his explosions went straight towards Izuku. Tokoemi, I won't allow it. Full of determination, Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow, AARGH. Launching himself directly at Bakugo, receiving all of his explosions and resisting, even though they caused him a lot of damage. Bakugo, angry, damn Shadow, get out of my way. Shiny! Throwing several explosions at him, causing the Dark Shadow to become smaller. Todoroki, watching as Izuku approached her without any way to stop. What kind of plan is it to launch yourself directly towards the enemy? Stretching out his left hand, it doesn't matter, your points are mine. Izuku, I won't give up, Todoroki-san. Raising his right hand ready to launch another blast of air. Todoroki, having Izuku almost in front of him, damn, if he hits me with that blast of air it's over, knowing that he was running out of time to react. If I want to win, then I just have to, creating small flames. But upon seeing Izuku, he remembered the scars they both had and immediately put them out. But before anyone could do anything else, a loud noise and present mixed words were heard throughout the stadium. Time's up. Todoroki, realizing that he used his fire, my left arm, why, seeing Izuku fall to the ground, separating from his team and watching as Momo ran towards Izuku. Bakugo, falling to the ground face down after having turned Dark Shadow into Tokoemi, curse, clenching his teeth in anger when he saw how Izuku still had the 10 million points, curse. Momo, what were you thinking, Midoriya-kun, when you threw yourself at him like that? Angry and worried about her friend, and it was worse when she saw his fingers. Look how you hurt yourself again. Helping him to stop. Let's go get recovery to take care of you, and while you do that, tell me what you were thinking. Izuku, Wayamamo's somewhat scared by the aura that his friend emanated. Don't you think you're exaggerating a little? Seeing Momo's look to realize that she will shut up. I'm sorry. Shuko, stop. Coming in front of both. Why? Clenching her fists. Tell me why you threw yourself like that if you knew I could have hurt you at such a short distance. Izuku, Because I scratching his head while smiling innocently. At no point did I feel like you were going to hurt me, Todoroki-san, causing Shuko to just lower her head while her hair covered her eyes. Momo, that's enough getting between them. This is not the time for this. Midoriya-kun has to be taken care of by Recovery Girl if he wants to participate in the next round in good condition, dragging him. But they are stopped again by Shuko. Shuko, Midoriya causing them to look at her, noticing how she had a very difficult expression to decipher, as if she wanted to vent, but couldn't. When they finish healing your fingers, come see me behind the stadium, turning around to start walking away. I would like to talk to you, glancing at Momo alone. Izuku, why yes, nervous by the way. Shuko and Momo looked at each other. Momo, frowning as she carried Izuku to the infirmary despite him telling her he can walk alone. Announcer's room. Present Mike. Alright, with this the second round of the sports festival ends. All the students will be given some time to rest while we prepare everything for the next round. Excited, but first we will announce the 4 winning teams. Making the names appear on a big screen. In first place is Team Midoriya. In second place is Team Bakugo. In third place is Team Todoroki. And last but not least, in fourth place is Team Shinso. Aizawa, that's what I told them. While everyone only concentrated on the grand prize, one of them could see that he could continue advancing, seeing the other possibilities that he had around him. Present Mike. Anyway, these are the 4 teams that made it to the finals. The next event will start in an hour. Take advantage to have lunch and rest. Aizawa, I'm going to sleep. San. Tokoemi. Next to some of his companions, Midoriya's plan worked. He told me that he would jump directly towards Todoroki, and asked me to move Bakugo as far away as possible. Todoroki. I had decided not to use my flames in battle, but he forced me, clenching his fist as he went to the place. He agreed with Izuku. Mina. Bakugo only chose me to counter Todoroki's quirk. Depressed. Tsuyu. I'm not satisfied with the result, but congratulations to everyone. By the way, Midoriya hurt himself again using his quirk. Jairu. Yes, it is clear that controlling so much power is not an easy task. Smiling, luckily our class president is always with him to help him. Uraraka. Can you imagine what it will be like when she manages to control all her power? Excited, she would be the strongest hero of all, like All Might. Bakugo. TCH, walking away from the place in silence. After that, Momo took Izuku to the infirmary, where Recovery Girl scolded him for hurting himself like that again and threatened him that the next time he did it again she would start hitting him with her cane to see if he learned his lesson. And once in the dining room, Izuku separated from the rest to go talk to Shuko, to the annoyance of Momo, who could only accept that, but not before telling Izuku that she would ask him for a plate of katsudon so that they would not finish, but with the condition that he would not take too long. Stadium back. Izuku, running up. I am sorry I'm late. Todoroki-san, catching his breath. Shuko, in total silence. Izuku, Todoroki-san? If you don't tell me anything, we won't have time to eat something at the cafeteria, trying to lighten the mood. But it didn't work. Todoroki-san, staring at her. Please tell me what happened to make you act like that all this time. Shuko, you pressured me, interrupting him and looking him straight in the eyes. You forced me to go against my own words, looking at his left fist and then clenching it. Your quirk is very strange. Strength, speed, bursts of air, electricity, not to mention how the image of All Might appeared when you gave the final blow to that Nomu. Tell me, are you by any chance the son of a quirk marriage? Izuku, huh? Confused. Shuko, my father is Endeavor, but I think you already knew that. He is a man who simply does not accept defeat, but thanks to his personality he has always been the number 2 hero, and since he was not able to surpass All Might he thought of another plan. Izuku, you mean? Sensing where the conversation was going. Shuko, marriages by quirks. From the 2nd and 3rd generation a new social problem was created, and in order to evolve their own quirks, they would handpick their wives and thus force marriages. My father is a man of achievements, and with a lot of money, so he approached my mother's relatives and obtained her quirk. Izuku, staying silent as he lowered his head and his hair covered his eyes. Shuko, my father raised me simply to use me and have a hero powerful enough to surpass All Might, just to fulfill his own ambition. But let him rot. I will never be a simple tool for his whims. My mother was always crying, and one day she said, "His left side is so ugly. And then she threw boiling water on me, touching her scar. Izuku, getting angry at everything he heard. Shuko, I'm going to surpass you and show my damn father that I can become number one without resorting to his quirk. Walking away. It's okay if you don't want to answer me. Excuse me for taking your time. Izuku, I speaking for the first time and stopping her. I am here today thanks to someone who helped me and believed in my dream, clenching his fists while remembering how Almight chose him. That's why I don't want to lose against anyone either. Looking up, looking her straight in the eyes. I simply can't disappoint the one who is helping me fulfill my dream. Bakugo, hiding, listening to the whole conversation, so someone is actually helping him. A useless Quirkless would have never gotten this far without help, leaving the place while smiling and thinking about something else. So marriage by quirks, huh? Izuku, that's why I return your declaration of war against me. I'm going to win the sports festival and I'm going to help you. Causing Shuko to be surprised. And as for your father, he's a damn bastard. Clearly angry. He shouldn't be a hero after what he did. Shuko, many others have said the same thing, and in the end they only remained empty words, walking away from the place and having a very slight smile. It's good to hear someone else say those things to the damn old man. Izuku, watching Shuko walk away with a new determination. Todoroki-san, you and Yamamoto were my first friends I ever had in my life. You were the ones who saved me from that loneliness I was in every day. That's why now it's my turn to save you. Heading back to the dining room. Dining room. Mineta, in front of the girls. Seriously girls, Aizawa-sensei told me that. Yayorozu, I didn't hear anything about that. Next to a plate of katsudon covered so it wouldn't get cold. Kaminari, he came and told us that the girls in each class had to wear cheerleading uniforms and support their classes with a perverted smile just imagining it. Izuku, arriving at the dining hall and standing behind Mineta and Kaminari. Really? I've seen the sports festival every year, and the students have never done something like that. Kaminari, answering himself without realizing. Yes, that's what he said, turning around realizing who he answered. And Midoriya. Izuku, taking Mineta and Kaminari by the collar of their shirts. You don't learn, do you? Looking at his classmates. Girls, this is most likely a lie. I'll tell Aizawa-sensei what they wanted to do. Looking at Mineta and Kaminari. Mineta, we'll talk more seriously after the festival, and you'll be there too. Kaminari, looking at them in an intimidating way. Mineta and Kaminari, scared without saying anything. Momo, approaching Izuku with the plate of katsudon in her hands. Midoriya-kun, here you go, handing it to him. You must eat to regain strength and be ready for the next round. Smiling. Izuku, thank you very much. Yamamoto, smiling. Uraraka, seeing the aura of those two, raising an eyebrow and whispering to the other girls. Is it just me, or are those two getting closer? Jiro, yes, a little more. And Yayorozu receives him as if she were his wife. Mina, not liking that, but remember that she also has that closeness with Todoroki. They may be distant now, but when you fix their affairs they will become much closer. Smiling, imagining that scene. And so the minutes passed in which Momo asked him what he talked about with Shuko with a small annoyance in her heart. But when he told her everything he told her, she could feel a little identified with the situation of his family because of the constant marriage proposals that to this day they still received, and that did not seem to have an end. That is why when Izuku told her that he did not know how but that he would help her overcome her problems, Momo just smiled, not because of the fact that Izuku thought so much about another boy. She did it because in every moment they spent together she saw in him the hero of that ancient boy that she loved so much. After a few more minutes they announced that the break was over and everyone had to go back to the stage, where this time they sat in the student stands while President Mike spoke again. Announcer's room. President Mike, go, go, go! Motivating the public, we finally arrived at the time of the main event. Listening to everyone's screams of the 4 teams that passed in the previous event, there were a total of 16 participants, of which only one of them will remain with the position of champion of this year's sports festival. They will be direct one-on-one battles, and the first battle will be between looking at a screen. Izuku Midoriya vs Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku, looking at the order of the fights, according to the combinations, I'm going to face Todoroki-san in the second fight. Looking at her out of the corner of his eye, even with the full call it will be a difficult fight. It's best to save as much energy as possible in the first round. Stopping, looking at her. Shuko, seeing the positions and confident that she would win first, facing him so soon is a little unexpected, glancing sideways at Izuku just when he stopped doing so. Midoriya, I will defeat you with my own hands. Bakugo Aoyama? Confused watching his first battle. Which of all those extras is it? Smiling madly, it doesn't matter. Finish him and everyone else until you're the winner. Aoyama, trembling without being able to say anything from fear. Uraraka, terrified seeing how she would have to fight Bakugo in the second round. Announcer's room. Present mic. For now, all participants head to the established private break rooms, while our colleague, the master and hero Cements, finishes building the platform. Seeing who had entered the cabin, meanwhile, we have with us a special guest on this occasion. With you, the director Nizu, surprising everyone. Nizu, sitting in a chair and taking the microphone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for visiting our facilities to be present in the front row of the new promises that we are forming. Pretending to smile. If you are wondering why I am on this occasion in the fights of the first-year students, the reason is very simple. Pausing while out of the corner of my eye I looked at the image of Izuku on a screen. I simply consider that all the new students of this year have great power, and I want to be present to see their growth as future heroes. Aizawa. He's lying. Looking at the director discreetly as he continued talking, the director has never witnessed the first year's fights, and it didn't seem to be the case until I told him what happened with Midoriya in the first two tests. Frowning slightly, both the director and All Might seemed to be very interested in Midoriya from the beginning. What are they hiding? Nizu, also, I've thought that in these fights the students make many friends and promises. So this year we have installed small microphones in the arena, and they are connected to the speakers so we can hear them and see the beginning of future alliances of heroes. And I only have to say that I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here. Winning the applause of the entire audience. He wouldn't be doing any of this if it weren't for the information he requested from Aizawa. Remembering everything he's seen of Izuku's power, after his quirk cannot be erased, he can generate those rays that All Might didn't have. Now it turns out that it cannot be copied by the quirk of that student Momo. Getting serious. Izuku. Midoriya, no, one for all, what other mysteries are you hiding? Present mic. Seeing how the arena was ready. Thank you very much, Cementos. Looking at the audience. Yes, everyone ready. After so many events, and the motivating words of director Nizu, the time has finally come for the one-on-one battles, what we really want to see. Will, skill, endurance and judgment. This is the time to put all that into play and conquer a glorious victory. Private stands. Mirko, finally. Staring at the sand, he did very well in the other tests. But this is what really matters today. Ryukyu, certainly in the same condition as her friend. It is the fights that all the most important professional heroes look at when sending their internship applications. Smiling, I already have some students to whom I want to send a letter, but my final decision will depend on this. Tashinori, in another room. I guess it's time to exchange jobs with All Might so he can be here. Getting up from his chair and heading for the exit. Melissa, thank you so much for all the help you give Uncle Might. Smiling. Inko, it's a shame that we can't all be supporting Izuku directly, but I understand starting to emanate an aura that scared Tashinori. But I'm also looking forward to having a little chat with All Might again. Tashinori, why yes, trembling as he left the room. I think it's best if I take a little while to get back to her. Listening to present mic. Participants of the first battle head to the battle arena. Tashinori, shit, speeding up his pace through the empty hallways as smoke began to rise. I have to give in. I don't want to lose their fights. Announcer's room. Present mic. First fight. Showing Izuku's image on a big screen from the heroism department. That young man who has dominated all the tests until now. That young man who impressed everyone even before this festival in that amazing battle against that creature to save his companions. The one for whom all the professional heroes surely have their eyes set on him, generating great screams from the public for many. The great promise of this generation. Seeing how Izuku was ready in the arena. Izuku. Midoriya. Seeing how Shinso was also ready against a normal boy from the General Studies Department. Hiroshi. Shinso. Causing few people to applaud for that presentation. The rules are simple. If your opponent leaves the ring, can't move anymore, or says, "I give up," the victory is yours. Don't worry about getting hurt. We have a recovery girl ready to take care of you so you can give it your all. San. Shinso. No wonder they make such a big difference in the presentation. Staring at Izuku. Did you understand that, Midoriya? This event is a battle to test the strength of our determination, smiling with some mockery. Even so, your imbeciles of companions only underestimate the efforts of others. Midnight, on a platform next to the arena. Are you ready? Shinso, you guys from the hero class just throw away the wishes of others. You just look down on us for not having quirks as flashy as you. The clearest example is that idiot with the explosions not getting any response. Midnight start. Hitting her whip against the ground. Izuku, running towards Shinso without activating the OFA. It's good that Ojiro warned me that the activation condition of his quirk is that I respond when he talks to me, throwing a punch towards the face which Shinso dodges with great difficulty. I don't know what his quirk is, but if he hasn't used it until now, it means that Ojiro was right, throwing a kick. Shinso, TCH dodging and returning the blows which Izuku easily dodged and starting to back away little by little. Damn, you already know how my quirk works. I have to find a way for him to fall for it. Couldn't that ape keep his mouth shut? Managing to see how he was running out of space by dodging Izuku's constant attacks. Why don't you talk? Not getting him to fall, starting to despair. Someone blessed with a quirk as strong as yours is too important to talk to one of the unfortunate ones who were not lucky enough to be born with a strong and striking quirk. Izuku, frowning, being noticed by Shinso. You are wrong, slowing down his attacks. Shinso, you're not even using your quirk against me. A little angry, just one of your punches would be enough and you knock me out of the arena. But you don't. Getting closer to the edge, I bet you're like everyone else and think that a person's worth is only determined by the quirk they have. Remembering his childhood. Izuku, you're wrong, starting to activate the OFA, being noticed by Shinso. I'm not like that. Shinso, resorting to his last resort. People with strong quirks only care about themselves and look down on others. Remembering when he saw them in the classroom and how Izuku tried to talk to Shuko, but she ignored him, and the one with the worst look is that girl with that disgusting scar on her face. Being just one step away from leaving the arena. Izuku, about to deliver the final blow. Don't talk about her like that. Getting carried away by anger, being affected by Shinso's quirk. Shinso, victory, smiling while being 1 centimeter away from losing his mind, catching his breath and looking at Izuku intently to give him his order. He turns around and walks out of the arena, watching as Izuku did this to everyone's bewilderment. Announcer's room. Present mic. Hey, what's going on? Seeing how Izuku had already passed half of the arena, Izuku Midoriya has not only stopped attacking, he's doing what his opponent told him and is leaving the arena. Could it be because of Shinso's quirk? The student who has gone completely unnoticed can really be a powerful competitor. Nizu, the student Hitoshi. Shinso has a quirk called brainwashing, which allows him to control his opponent under certain conditions, and he has fulfilled them with the participant Midoriya staring at Izuku. It was definitely a good idea to have altered the fights so that this would be the first, analyzing every detail. After all, this is the perfect opportunity to see that other quirks do not take effect with one for all. Aizawa, that's why I said that this entrance exam is meaningless. Even when someone has a very powerful quirk, it is useless against mind control. Under normal conditions, Midoriya would be the winner. But there is no way to escape from that, thinking that the result was already clear. Private stands? Mirko, damn! Kicking the floor. Are you going to lose in the first round, brat? Ryukyu, understand, a quirk like the one he's facing is not very common to find, so he probably didn't know what he was facing. They weren't the only ones who were worried about the outcome of their fight. Their mother only prayed that her son would find a way to emerge victorious. Almight, who was hiding behind a column so he wouldn't be seen, was very nervous, and like Inko, he only begged that Izuku could get out of this situation and claim victory, as he has done since he met him. All his friends and classmates were in the same situation. Everyone was encouraging him to win. Even Shuko clenched her fists, and could only think that this couldn't be the end since they still had to face each other in the next round. And when Izuku was a few steps away from leaving the arena, something happened, although no one could see it. San. Shinso, I bet it's great to be blessed by the heavens, isn't it, Izuku Midoriya? Smiling widely, seeing how he was about to win. With this, I'll be able to show that general course students are not useless, as we've been told so many times. Izuku, damn, trying to control his body without success. My body moves on its own. This is not good. Staring at the tunnel through which he reached the arena. Stop right now. being just a few steps away from leaving the arena. I can't break my promises. It was at that moment when Izuku was about to take the last step to lose that he could see something. In that empty tunnel a group of shadows appeared before his sight, and although he could not distinguish them, he was not afraid of them despite the fact that they were staring at him. At that same instant the One for All manifested itself throughout his body, and a large amount of rays began to be produced, causing his body to stop to everyone's shock. But Izuku was more focused on those shadows, and more so when a woman's voice was heard in his head. Do not fall for provocations. At that moment Izuku's fingers moved downwards, generating a small gust of air. Despite being very weak to the point that using it did not break Izuku's fingers, it was enough to get him out of Shinso's mind control, causing him to look down in surprise, and when he tried to see those shadows again, they were already gone. Izuku, recovering and breathing with great difficulty, again I heard a voice in my head, but this one was a woman's, and now I could also see some shadows, looking at his hand very confused, no doubt. I need Melissa's father to analyze the One for All, turning to look at Shinso while lowering the OFA to 2%, but before that, starting to walk towards Shinso, who looked at him in total shock. Announcer's room. Present mic, but what? Very surprised, Midoriya has not only managed to somehow escape Shinso's mind control. Seeing how he was just a few steps away from Shinso this time, it seems he won't hold back and will use his quirk. Aizawa, impossible, unbelieving, how could he escape from the mind control? Seeing the director writing something down in a small notebook, his quirk can't be erased, it can't be copied, and neither can mind control. What are you hiding from me, director? San? Shinso, how? Shocked you shouldn't be able to get out of my control, desperate knowing that I was going to lose. How did you do that? Izuku, without saying a word, I won't fall into his trap again, standing a few steps away from Shinso, ready to knock him out of the arena with one blow. Shinso, cornered, I need to get him to answer me, say something, damn it. Without receiving a response from Izuku, getting so much air pressure with just your strength, how envious, someone like you, who was born with a dream quirk, could never understand the weak. A bastard like you, who only does what he wants, will never understand it. Izuku, coming up to Shinso and giving him a strong blow to the stomach, knocking him out of the arena, making him lose. Shut up. Catching his breath while deactivating the OFA that I could never understand the weak. Getting off the arena and approaching Shinso. What do you know about that? Remembering his childhood, I still get hurt when I use my quirk. When I was a kid it was worse. Angry at Shinso's words, but not forgetting that he must keep the secret. That's why all the other kids always insulted me, hit me, and humiliated me, just because they thought I was useless. Making his classmates feel a little bad for hearing that. Shinso, what? Surprised? You mean you too? Izuku, yes, offering him his hand. I can understand more than anyone what it's like for everyone to look down on you and make fun of your dream, helping him get up and being face to face, but thanks to the support I get from the people who believe in me, I was able to get to where I am today. Seeing how several students were entering the arena, and the same applies to you. Shinso, confused, what do you mean? Watching as some of his classmates surround him. Izuku, that's why I'll tell you the same words that someone very important to me once told me, staring Shinso in the eyes while smiling. You can be a hero. At those words everyone began to applaud and give Shinso several ovations, who could not contain himself any longer and shed a few small tears upon hearing those words. Izuku could see himself reflected in him, and without having to say a word, just with a handshake before separating and each going to their respective places, they began a friendship. All of his friends and acquaintances couldn't be more proud of Izuku for that. Both Inko and Almight were crying for different reasons, although in different amounts, one for seeing the good values that his son had, and the other for hearing how his successor referred to him as someone very important. At the same time, Ryukyu only nodded in approval, while Mirko just smiled without saying a word as she reminded him of someone very important to her in her past. Announcer's room. Present mic. What an incredible display of camaraderie, ladies and gentlemen. With great emotion and wiping away a small tear with this, the first student to move on to the next round is Izuku Midoriya. Nizu, finishing writing in his notebook, many congratulations to young Midoriya, smiling falsely. Those values of companionship and mutual respect is something that we always try to instill in all our students. Aizawa, If that were true, I would have already done something more drastic with Bakugo, but it won't let me. Sighing in resignation, the other participants are ready, since as soon as one fight ends we will immediately start the next one. And those who pass are in their break room until we call them again, showing the images of the next participants. The next ones can now enter the arena. Stadium corridors. Shuko, walking towards the arena, being intercepted by her father. Get out of my way, old man. Endeavor, your performance has been nothing but mediocre. Shuko, staring at her. If you had used your left side, you would have dominated the obstacle course and the cavalry battle. Stop your childish behavior. You have the responsibility to surpass All Might, and also that brat Midoriya. Watching him walk away. Do you understand? You are different from your older brothers. You are my masterpiece. Shuko, stopping. Is that all you have to say? I'll just use my mother's power to win. Approaching the combat arena angrily. Endeavor, seriously, that may work here at school, but you'll soon reach your limit. Announcer's room. Present Mike, seeing how both students were already ready, the next battle is about to begin. Cheering the audience. On one hand, we have Hanta Zero from the hero department saying without much emotion, depressing Zero a little for that introduction. On the other hand, we have the girl who has received praise for her great strength. That girl who also showed her courage in directly facing the villains. That girl who is determined to take the victory. That girl whose father needs no introduction, making everyone scream with excitement. From the heroism department, we have Shuko Todoroki. San. Zero. I know our strength and popularity are very different, but was an introduction like that necessary? Getting into position just like Shuko. If I want to have the slightest chance of winning, I have to be the one to make the first move. Midnight, are you ready? Seeing how both were in position and hitting her whip against the ground. Start. Zero, catching Shuko with his ribbons. I don't think I'll lose. Todoroki, trying to throw her out of the arena. Shuko, trying to be dragged by the ribbons out of the arena. I'm sorry, creating a gigantic wall of ice, surpassing the height of the stadium and completely freezing Zero, but I don't plan on losing. Taking off the frozen ribbons. Zero, shivering from the cold. I ascent that a bit exaggerated. Completely trapped by ice. Midnight, I am sorry, with half of my body frozen. See, can you still move? Shivering from the cold. Zero, no. Midnight, Hanta Zero can't move. Trying to move. The winner is Shuko Todoroki. She advances to the second round. Shuko, approaching Zero. Excuse me, I exaggerated a little, using her fire a little to release it. I was in a bad mood. After that, the other battles followed their course, while Izuku decided to stay in the waiting room to recover from his fight against Shinso while trying to hear those voices or see those shadows again without success, generating in him a greater doubt of what One for All really was. And while doing that, she could hear the results of her other companions thanks to Preston Mike, as well as she knew more or less how their fights went. That was how she found out that Shuko beat Zero almost immediately. How Momo beat Kaminari by creating a shield with an insulator as well as a weapon so that his electricity would not affect her, generating great confidence in her. How Tokoimi beat a girl from Class B named Ibra Shiozaki with relative ease, and she understood that Dark Shadow was a very strong quirk that she should be careful in facing. How Ida won his fight, but before that he was used as a publicity poster by Hatsum, who gave up at the end when he finished demonstrating all his inventions. That made her very happy, knowing what Ida's personality was like, and that he surely felt more furious for having been used in that way. How Uraraka was able to defeat Mina with some difficulty due to her excellent physical condition, and was only able to win thanks to the fact that in a moment of carelessness she was able to touch her with her hands and made her float out of the arena. There she decided that she would try to help her by giving her advice to improve her physical condition as well. Of the exaggeratedly similar way of fighting of her partner Kirishima, and a boy from Class B called Tetsu, and how Kirishima won only by a very small margin. And finally, how Bakugo mercilessly attacked his partner Aoyama, who was sent flying out of the arena with just one explosion, and from what he had heard he knew that Bakugo was acting more aggressively, and he became even more worried knowing that his next battle would be against Uraraka. So he decided to give her some advice on how to confront him. But first he had a more important matter to attend to, and as he prepared to go out again he could hear Present Mic's voice again over the speakers. The arena has now been repaired so we can begin the second round of battles. The next contestants please report to the arena. Stadium corridors. Izuku. Well, leaving the waiting room, it seems that the time has come. Walking, seeing Endeavor and Bakugo talking along the way, where the latter seemed to be more irritated. Of all the people I could meet, did it have to be those two? Bakugo. Seeing Izuku approaching, tch walking away from the place. You'll see. I'll show you. Endeavor. You pointing at Izuku. I'm going to witness your battle. Brad ignoring Bakugo and approaching Izuku. I don't know in what sense, and the truth is I don't care. I only know that you are related to All Might. Izuku, somewhat nervous. He is not taller than All Might, but his presence is very imposing. Endeavor. My dear creation has the glorious task of surpassing All Might, and therefore you staring into his eyes this way, a fight between you two will be good practice for her. So, do your best to give a worthy fight, understood? Starting to walk away, that's all I have to say. Go quickly to the battle. Izuku. Frowning, I still can't believe it, clenching his fists. I can't believe a father can do that to his own daughter, to his own family. Endeavor. Turning to look at Izuku, Brad is unable to understand him. Izuku. I, clenching his fists, am not like All Might. Endeavor. That's more than obvious, being interrupted. Izuku. That's why Todoroki-san isn't an extension of him either. Starting to walk away, leaving Endeavor alone. That's why I'll win the sports festival and at the same time help Todoroki-san. Endeavor. Looking at Izuku's back in complete silence. You will have to demonstrate that with your actions and not with words. Announcer's room. Present Mike. Seeing how Izuku and Shuko were in their positions, now we begin with the second round of these battles. Excited, and we couldn't have a better start than this. Winning everyone's applause, two young people who at this point no longer need an introduction, for many the strongest boy and girl of the first year, Izuku Midoriya versus Shuko Todoroki. Nizu, watching closely with his small notebook in hand ready to write down. Aizawa, again, realizing this, again he's doing this only in Midoriya's fights, no longer having the slightest doubt that they were hiding something from him. Private stands. Mirko, excited, finally an exciting fight to watch. Ryukyu, you only say that because that Midoriya boy is involved. Mirko, of course not. Looking at her partner, it's also because she was already bored, making Ryukyu sigh. Melissa, in another room sitting next to Inko, Uncle Might is really taking too long. Inko, where Yagi-sen has warned All Might, I will also have to talk seriously with him. Melissa, a little nervous, wanting to change the subject to help her uncle. By the way, Mrs. Midoriya, both Izuku and Momo told me that they studied with that girl and that she was a friend of Izuku. Inko, you don't have to be so formal with me, dear. Momentarily forgetting her anger, you can call me by my name, smiling, and it's true, according to what they've told me they are friends, although lately it seems like they've distanced themselves a bit, and that has made Izuku somewhat sad. Melissa, staring at the sand, I don't know her, but I know Izuku, so I can say that he will do something to get them back on good terms. Inko, I hope so, since he met her, just like Momo-chan, he has been happier, smiling with some regret, remembering what his son's childhood was like. San. Midnight, are you ready? Seeing how both of them just stared at each other. Izuku, the time has come, tensing his muscles. Shuko, from our fight, doing the same as Izuku, it's dangerous to let him use that power as he wants. I have to be faster. Midnight, start. Using her whip. Shuko, throwing several ice spikes directly at Izuku. Izuku, 1 for all 5%, hitting those spikes, destroying some, but having to back off. Damn, his ice is tougher than I thought. If I'm not careful, I could get caught by it. Shuko, why? Throwing more ice spikes, causing Izuku to dodge them. Why don't you use all that power you have to show against that thing called Nomu? Throwing ice spikes again, this time destroying them. Izuku, I can't do it, seeing how his fists were bleeding from the ice. Besides, it wouldn't be fair. Todoroki-san, dodging more ice spikes. After all, you haven't used all your power either. Running towards her at high speed. Why don't you use your left side? Shuko, you. Getting angry after what I told you. You talk to the damn old man. Throwing large amounts of ice, leaving Izuku with no way out. Isn't that right? Starting to tremble as pieces of ice formed on his face. Izuku, damn, seeing himself cornered, having no other option than to use the air blast with one of his fingers, breaking all the ice. But breaking his finger, yes, I talked to him. But that doesn't change the fact that. Shuko, shut up. Creating an ice pillar on her back to not leave the arena, I don't want to hear the words of a liar. Creating many more ice pillars, forcing Izuku to dodge them. You told me that you weren't related to Almight, but we all saw that that's not true. Very angry, letting out all her anger. I thought you were different from everyone else, but you're not, and for you to agree to what my father said, I being interrupted. Izuku, that's not true. Dodging and destroying more ice pillars, forcing him to use another of his fingers. I did not agree to anything from a guy who is frustrated for considering himself a failure just for not being able to surpass All Might. Surprising everyone in many ways. Shuko, what? Stands. Endeavor, damn brat. Screaming with all his might, generating many flames, and when he was about to walk to the arena, someone stops him by the shoulder. Who the buck? Turning his head, only getting angrier. All Might. Surprising everyone by seeing him there. All Might, squeezing Endeavor's shoulder tightly, not caring that he was burning. I will not let you interrupt, young Midoriya. Endeavor tightening his grip a little more. Izuku, whatever you are trying to do, I am sure you are trying to help your friend. Smiling, if that is the case, I will not let anyone or anything stop you. Endeavor, resigned, just continuing to watch the fight. Private stands. Mirko, ha 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 ha, stamping the ground repeatedly with his feet. I like that boy more and more. Ryukyu, oh wow, impressed. I never thought someone would say something like that to Endeavor, and worse in his presence. Mirko, that makes him even better. Very excited, unable to stop her tail from moving, having the guts to tell Lamitas his truths makes him a much better disciple. Inko, in another room, my son did he say that to Endeavor? Being on the verge of fainting from those words from her son. Melissa, Mrs. Inko, please hold on. Trying to breathe air into the poor woman. San. Izuku, Todoroki-san, look at you. Destroying another pillar, sacrificing another of his fingers. But enduring the pain, you're starting to tremble. A quirk is still a physical quality. The amount of cold your body can withstand is also limited, isn't it? And it could easily be solved with the heat from your left side, right? Shuko, I won't let you fool me again. Launching herself at Izuku. Izuku, everyone. Launching himself towards Shuko. Everyone has been giving their best for victory, for their goals, for their dreams. Jumping between more ice pillars as he got closer to Shuko, and yet you only use half of your power? Reaching her and giving her a strong blow to the stomach, but his left arm is damaged by several ice spikes. Attack me with everything you've got. At that moment, Shuko remembered the words her mother once told her a long time ago. You can do it, just believe in yourself. She didn't know why she remembered them, but more and more memories came to her mind at that very moment, of the fact that she was always waiting for some hero to come to her house to stop her father from all the hellish training she was subjected to daily, but unfortunately it never happened. Shuko, getting up from the ground with difficulty, what are you trying to do? Launching other ice pillars again, attack you with everything I have. Running towards Izuku, I will never do that, give up. Izuku, I will never give up. Launching himself again towards Shuko, giving her another blow, throwing her to the edge of the arena. I will never give up on wanting to help you, Todoroki-san. Shuko, why? Breathing heavily as she slowly stood up and launched more ice again, but at a slower speed. Izuku, look! Easily dodging, your ice speed has been reduced too much. Standing completely still in the middle of the arena. Shuko, why? Staying still like Izuku, why are you going so far? Holding back the urge to cry, why do you pretend you want to help me? Izuku, because I'm not pretending. Slowly approaching Shuko, because wanting to be a heroine without using your fire will only end badly for you, and I don't want that. Shuko, unable to throw more ice and seeing how Izuku approached her while remembering more things from her childhood. Todoroki residence several years ago. Endeavor, get up. In the middle of a Shuko lying on the ground, if you can't even handle that, you can forget about All Might, even a weakling subordinate of a villain would be able to handle it. Approaching Shuko. Ray, please stop. Getting between them, she's only 5 years old, trying to protect a Shuko while she was crying and vomiting on the floor. Endeavor, he's already 5 years old. Pushing Ray to the ground, stop bothering me. Another memory, Shuko girl, hugging her mother while crying, Mom, I don't want to be like Dad. I don't want to be someone who hurts you, Mom. Rei caressing Shuko's head, but you also want to be a heroine one day, don't you? The future you want, you can achieve it only if you believe in yourself. Smiling sweetly at her. San. Izuku, getting closer to Shuko, use your fire. Todoroki residence several years ago. Shuko, remembering seeing her brothers playing in the yard of her house, but is dragged by Endeavor. Let me go. Endeavor, forcefully dragging Shuko. Stop resisting, Shuko. You and your brothers now live in completely different worlds. Another memory. Shuko, coming down at midnight listening to her mother talking on the phone. Rei, Mom, I feel so bad heating water in a kettle. I can't stand this anymore. My children look more like him. I'm realizing that Shuko's left side is so ugly that I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand it anymore. I don't want to raise them anymore. Shuko, approaching her mother and Mom? Another memory. Shuko, with bandages on her left eye. Where is Mom? Endeavor, for having hurt you, she is going to stay in the hospital for now. For the love of God, I thought I made it clear to her that this is a very critical moment. Shuko, I hate you, Dad, crying for the last time in her life. It's all your fault. San. Shuko, with slightly watery eyes, still shaking from the cold. I'm going to make my old man. Izuku, this power a few steps from Shuko. Is yours and yours only. Shuko, having a last memory. Todoroki residence several years ago. Rei, watching an interview of All Might on television with Shuko. You also want to be a heroine, right, honey? Shuko, yes. Happy watching the interview and then seeing her mother. I want to be very strong so I don't depend on anyone and I can protect you. Rei, hugging her daughter. You can do it. Just believe in yourself, pampering her daughter's hair. But you shouldn't want to be alone either. Honey, looking her daughter straight in the eyes. One day you will find someone very special to you that will make you forget about wanting to be alone. Shuko, anyone special? Confused. Rei, yes, hugging his daughter with some force, making her reciprocate the hug. Someone whom you can consider as your own hero. Starting to cry, hiding it from Shuko. That is why until then do not let your family limit your future. Whatever you want to do, just do it, and please never forget these words. You are not a prisoner of your blood. San. Izuku, Todoroki-san. Shuko, I can't. Holding back her tears with all her might. I can't. I don't want to use my fire. Staring at Izuku. The reason why I want to be a heroine is so that I can protect my mother, and I'll do it only with my ice. Looking at all the spectators and all the heroes who were watching her, many of them must know what happened. But none of them did anything to prevent it. At that moment the whole state was in complete silence. Many did not understand what he was talking about, and those who did were so cowardly that they just looked away, pretending that it had never happened. And at that moment everyone knew that the next words would be decisive. Izuku, lowering his head, understanding the situation, remembering how sometimes when he was bothered as a child some heroes saw him, but did nothing. Shuko, breathing with difficulty while still looking at the stands, causing some heroes to look away. No hero came to save me and my mother. That's why I wanted to be my own heroine, to save her. Staring at Izuku in this stadium full of people, there is no hero, speaking with a melancholic tone. Izuku, exactly still with his head down. There are no heroes. People who come riding horses to defend the weak only exist in fairy tales, remembering his childhood. Shuko, huh? Izuku, looking up, looking Shuko straight in the eyes. People who are strong, bold, and rush to save each and every weak one selflessly only exist in fiction. They don't exist. All Might is the closest thing to one. But neither he nor anyone can be there at all times and in any place, winning the genuine attention of all the people who are listening to him. Wait all you want. They will never appear, causing great confusion throughout the world, especially Shuko. That's why I want to be your hero. Shuko, opening her eyes in surprise. Izuku, I will be your hero. Approaching Shuko, who wanted to back away, but couldn't because she would be disqualified. Maybe I can't understand all your pain, despair, or all your suffering, but I want to save you from that loneliness like you and Yamamoto did with me. Arriving in front of Shuko. Shuko, seeing how Izuku was in front of her, and stretched out his hand towards hers. Izuku, Todoroki-san. No. Shuko, taking her by the hand and looking her straight in the eyes. I came to save you. Shuko, what? feeling her tears running down her cheeks for the first time in many years. Am I crying? Trying to stop them, but it was useless. Why? Izuku, Shuko interlacing her fingers while not taking her eyes off her. I want to make you a promise. Shuko, a promise? Izuku, yes, I will make you a promise here and now, delicately holding her hand without caring that everyone was looking at them. Every time you are in pain, every time you feel sorry, I will come to save you. Shuko, you shedding many more tears, will you save me? Izuku, I still consider myself weak, clumsy, and I don't feel like I can save all the people in the world, but I promise that I will always go to save you. And one day, giving him a sweet smile like he had never seen before in his life, while tears also fell from his eyes. I will be your hero. At those words, Shuko's heart began to beat much faster. Those warm words had been able to melt her heart, imprisoned by her own ice, and with that her flames had been tied up on her entire left side except for her hands, so as not to hurt Izuku, who had done exactly the same with his electricity all over his body except his hands, so as not to hurt Shuko. At that moment, they were the only ones who could see and hear in the whole world. They couldn't even hear when Endeavor shouted his daughter's name very loudly and tried to get closer to the arena, nor all the applause and whistles from the spectators, and while they continued with their hands intertwined, they had their last conversation before having a winner. Shuko, you really are crazy, smiling sweetly as the last tears fell. Izuku, you already know me, he wiping away the last tears. I'm sorry I lied to you before. Believe me, it wasn't my intention. Shuko, don't worry, I didn't tell you my whole life until today, tightening the grip on Izuku's hand. Ready to end this? Izuku, yes. Letting go of Shuko's hand and taking a big leap to the other end of the arena. Let's end this using all our power. One for all, 8%, surpassing his limit, generating many more rays. Shuko, Mom, I found it, using her ice and fire at the same time to the fullest extent she could, but that doesn't mean I'll be a damsel in distress. After that, Shuko launched some gigantic columns of ice, and then launched a huge amount of fire behind them. Izuku, for his part, launched himself at great speed to dodge the ice, and when he had the fire in front of him, he charged for the first time the one for all in his arm at 100% voluntarily to generate a gigantic air pressure that would overcome them. At that, Shuko could see him, and with a smile and some weak words before both attacks collided, she could only say, "Thank you, Izuku." And although the cements tried to stop their attacks by creating large walls in between which were useless, once both attacks had collided with them, they went through them like simple sheets of paper, generating a gigantic shock wave which forced everyone in the stadium to take cover so as not to fly away, leaving only an immense cloud of smoke that prevented seeing the result. Nobody said anything, not even President Mike could describe everything he had seen and heard. Everyone simply waited patiently for that smoke to dissolve so they could see the winner, and after a few eternal seconds a silhouette could be seen standing in the middle of the arena, dying as if it was carrying someone, and the first person he could clearly distinguish was his teacher Midnight, who immediately announced, "Midnight," coming out of the impression, staring at the silhouette, and the victory goes to seeing Izuku carrying an unconscious Shuko in his arms while she was covered by his sweatshirt. Izuku Midoriya. Chapter 10, The Name of a Champion. San. Midnight, excited seeing Izuku carrying Shuko. Todoroki is unconscious. Therefore Izuku Midoriya goes to the next round, causing the entire audience to scream with excitement but smiling mischievously. "Can I ask why you covered her with your sweatshirt?" Izuku, nervous and enduring the pain in his arm. That last attack burned half of her clothes, and I don't think she wants them to see her like that. Midnight, I see, giving a mischievous smile. That means you saw her naked. Is that the kind of hero you want to be for her? Izuku, I blushes. Running to the exit carrying Shuko. I'll take her to the infirmary. Midnight, kya. It's like in the fairy tales where the hero always protects his princess. Seeing how they argued, there are so many things I have to teach them. Smiling. Waiting room. Momo, pouting. Midoriya-kun, you're a fool. Leaving the waiting room and walking through the halls. It's not just Melissa, now you called Todoroki-san by their names and nothing to me. Feeling a small pain in her chest, plus there's all that stuff you told her. Would you be my hero too? Civil stands. Civilian men, hey, that battle was amazing. Excited. I wouldn't have expected anything less than that guy who defeated that monster and Endeavor's daughter. I know, And those words can be misinterpreted a lot, or could this be the beginning of the most powerful pair of heroes that has ever existed? Civilian women, kya. Excited, that was so nice. Some were wiping away some tears. Leaving aside the blows that were given by this competition, smiling, those words and those feelings that were transmitted were very romantic. Right. Hitting her husband on the shoulder and getting a little angry, and why have you never been this romantic with me in all these years that we have been together? Not letting her husband answer, when we get home we will talk about it. Journalists. Writing in his notebook, I can already see tomorrow's headlines. Is love born between Izuku Midoriya and Shuko Todoroki? Are we at the beginning of the next pair of the strongest heroes in history? Looking at his companion, tell me you have everything recorded? Cameraman, yes sir. Checking the camera, both the images and the audio were recorded. Journalist, perfect. Looking at the other stands, looking for someone now, we just need to find out what Endeavor himself thinks about all this. Cameraman, sir, he left after Midoriya took Todoroki to the infirmary. Sir, watching from the entrance of the stands, it seems that I arrived late. Starting to walk back to the exit, it seems that I will have to go see him myself to make sure why you chose him and not the one that the director and I were training to be your successor, Tashinori. Student stands. Mineta, damn lucky guy. Crying blood, he gets mad at me. But he not only sees, but also carries a naked girl in front of national television. Tsuyu, hitting him with her tongue, it wasn't his fault, Mineta. He couldn't help it. Jiro, with a slight blush, that's right. In fact, he was very kind in covering it so that no one else could see it. Although I'm sure Yayorozu wouldn't like that. Zero, hey, don't you think those words sounded more like a statement? Mina, yes, I think so too. Very happy I told them that when they resolved their issues they would become closer, and with those words and the way they looked at each other for a second, there is no doubt about that. Harakure, do you really think that? Earning everyone's glances, what? What he said is that from the beginning Midoriya seems to be very close with both Todoroki and Yayorozu, and if they haven't started a relationship until now, maybe it's because he doesn't want to lose either of their friendship. Kaminari, crying blood just like Mineta, or is the bastard slowly conquering them to make his own harem? Mineta, true. Crying even more, remember that he supposedly delayed to help a lost girl. Maybe that bastard wants to have at least 3 women. Tsuyu, giving them both a strong blow with her tongue. You guys stop being so perverted and only thinking about those things, earning everyone's gaze. Remember that we are talking about Midoriya-chan. Karo, making everyone remember Izuku's personality. He is a very good person, and I'm sure he will help anyone who needs it, and more if it is one of his closest friends. Karo, also looking at Mina, what happens in other people's relationships is none of our concern. Karo, looking ahead for the moment, let's just concentrate on the fights of our other companions. Karo, leaving everyone silent. Private stands. Ryukyu, smiling, that was a good battle, don't you think? Mirko, did you notice? Somewhat serious. Ryukyu, yes, also getting a little serious. When he was taking Todoroki, I could see how his body was shaking a lot, and it seemed that his arm was broken too. Mirko, that Quirk, remembering when he was knocked unconscious in the USJ, his body isn't strong enough to control all his power yet, sighing, I just hope he can keep fighting. Ryukyu, remember that the recovery girl Quirk can speed up the recovery process in exchange for the person's energy, and she would still need 2 more battles to become the champion of the festival. Almight, arriving at the room where Inko and Melissa were. Hi, sorry for the delay. Melissa, running towards him. Uncle Might. Hugging him. Izuku really is someone amazing, not only for his strength, but also for how he seemed to help his friend. All Might, ha ha ha, right? Feeling proud, that's why I decided to help him train so he can fulfill his dream. Feeling somewhat guilty. Forgive me, Melissa, for telling you the half-truth. Inko, All Might, staring at him to his horror. All Might and Mrs. Midoriya, nervous. I heard from Yagi-san that why you wanted to talk to me. Inko, yes, but first bowing slightly, thank you very much for stopping Endeavor from intervening when my son said those things about him. Looking up, I'm sure that if that hadn't been the case, Izuku wouldn't have been able to say those nice words to his friend. Smiling, although that seemed like more than a friend to me. And I thought it was going to be Momo-chan who would win his heart, although well, it's still too soon to know that. All Might, Don't worry, Mrs. Midoriya, smiling. I promised that I would always protect Izuku from any danger. Inko. And speaking of that, stopping smiling to look at All Might, who also stopped smiling when he saw her look. While Izuku fights again, we have plenty of time to talk about the promise you two broke. All Might. Why, yes, unable to do anything but tremble before the mother of his successor. Nursing. Recovery girl. You've finally arrived. Seeing Izuku at the entrance with Shuko in his arms while he was shaking a little, laying her down on that stretcher, pointing with his cane. I saw their fight on television, and now I'm starting to believe that you're a bit of a masochistic brat. Izuku blushes a little. Why do you say that? Leaving Shuko on the stretcher. Recovery girl. Because you know that if you overuse your quirk, this happens to you. Giving a light blow to Izuku's arm, causing him a lot of pain. Your arm is broken, making Izuku have a panicked face. But doesn't let him speak right now. You're not feeling it as much because of the adrenaline of the moment. Sighing, now lie down on the stretcher next to you. I'll use my quirk to heal you so you can continue in the competition. Izuku, lying down on the stretcher next to Shuko. Thank you very much and sorry for this. Recovery girl. Don't worry, kid, using her quirk on Izuku, healing him but making him very sleepy. If you're like your master, I know you'd beg me to keep participating. Seeing Izuku slowly closing his eyes, now rest a little. If you haven't woken up by the time you have to fight again, I will heading to the exit of the infirmary. I'll go out for a moment to get that girl some clothes. Smiling, I'm sure she wouldn't want her hero to see her that way, at least not yet. Izuku, closing his eyes while thinking about Shuko. Sir, watching how recovery was going, well, I must take this opportunity to see if he is really the one to have the one for all. Slowly opening the door and seeing Izuku asleep. Now let's see what the future holds for you. Using his quirk on Izuku. And by doing that, sir could see something that simply terrified him, an immense devastation, destroyed buildings, complete anarchy in the streets, hundreds of villains roaming everywhere, and on top of several rubble was Izuku, but the aura he emanated was different. Only one word could express that image, and that was fear. Sir, terrified covering his mouth so they don't hear him. But waking up Shuko and quickly moving away from the place. What the hell was that? Breathing with difficulty and running through the hallways. This director Niza has to know about this, without giving importance to the fact that he passed by Momo. Momo, watching a man running through the halls without knowing who he was. How strange, he didn't seem to be hurt, but he looked very scared, wanting to call him to find out what was happening. But she hears how the arena was almost ready and remembers that she wanted to talk to Izuku. Nursing. Shuko, waking up. What was that noise? Getting up from the stretcher without realizing her condition, uncovering herself. It seemed like someone screamed, looking everywhere, noticing Izuku asleep on a stretcher next to her, but who, and remembering everything that happened. But more importantly, how he was shirtless and blushing massively, covering himself with the first thing he found being Izuku's sweatshirt. Izuku. At least wait until you meet me. Realizing he was asleep. Why is he asleep? Approaching him and noticing the wounds on his arm, smiling sweetly. You tried so hard for me, despite how I treated you these past few days, bringing her face closer to Izuku's. Momo, arriving at the infirmary, but staying silent as she looks at everything. Shuko, my mother was right. One day I would find my hero. Closing her eyes, and that's you. Izuku, giving him a kiss extremely close to the lips. Thank you. Moving away from him a little, but still being very close, and whispering, although you are very bad, Izuku. If you weren't asleep, I would have kissed you directly on the. Listening to how someone opened the door, lips noticing that it was Momo who was crying. Shuko, Yaoyorozu, realizing she was almost on top of shirtless Izuku. This. Momo, running down the hall, not wanting to hear anything. Why, not stopping crying? Why, if Midoriya-kun and I are just friends, it hurt me so much to see that. Listening to how the other fights would start immediately. I was the first to meet him. Feeling how her chest hurt. It's not fair. Having an idea of what was happening to her. Could it be that I? Shuko, separating from Izuku and sitting on her stretcher until Recovery Girl arrived. Recovery Girl, I see you're already awake. Did something happen while I was gone? Shuko, no. Recovery Girl, okay, handing him a new uniform. Take this and put it on. The boy could wake up at any moment, and you don't want him to see you like this. Shuko, thank you. Closing the curtain to start getting dressed. After that, President Mike had announced the next participants, which were Kirishima, who would face Ida, and whose battle was too fast, giving Ida the victory, who used his speed to kick Kirishima in his chest before he activated his quirk completely, resulting in him leaving the arena. At such screams, not only from the infirmary television, but from the same ones that can be heard throughout the academy, Izuku woke up from his little rest and got up from the stretcher. The first thing he thought about was seeing how Shuko was doing, and when he saw the curtain of his stretcher covering her, and being somewhat sleepy from having woken up, he moved it to one side, coming across an image that made him wake up suddenly and turn as red as a strawberry. Izuku blushes and turns around. "I'm so sorry." Shuko, completely red while covering herself with her arms. "Okay, Jay, just give me a second to finish getting dressed," closing the curtain again while feeling her heart beating very hard. "This is embarrassing, but if Izuku asks me, I'll," blushing even more at what she was thinking and putting on her new uniform quickly and opening the curtain. "I am done. I'm sorry about that. I thought you'd be asleep longer." Izuku, don't worry, not wanting to make eye contact out of embarrassment. "It was my fault for opening without asking Todoroki-san first. I'd being interrupted." Shuko, making Izuku look her in the eyes. "You called me by my name when you said those words to me," and having a small blush on her cheeks again. "I liked it when you called me that." Izuku making both of them blush again, and a silence was generated. Izuku, Todoro seeing Shuko start to pout. Shuko, "Oh my god, one thing is Melissa, who is a foreigner and is common there, but doing it with Shuko is very embarrassing. I just hope Yamamoto doesn't find out. I just wanted to apologize for not telling you the truth, but it's just that." Shuko, "Don't worry," leaving the pout and smiling slightly. "If it's such an important secret, I understand that you can't tell anyone," but turning her gaze while pouting slightly again. "You promised me that there would be no secrets between us, so if one day you tell me the truth, I'll forgive you." Izuku, smiling at those words. "Yes. It's good that she doesn't seem to be angry with me anymore, although now she hopes that I tell her the truth one day, remembering how some of her teacher's friends know the truth. Well, I guess that one day I can tell her. Yamamoto and Melissa, who is going to help me with my hero costume like her father did with All Might. One day I will tell you everything." SS Shuko. Shuko, smiling sweetly. "Thanks, Izuku." Recovery girl, "This is better than my soap opera. But it's not time for this," pretending to cough, getting the attention of the two. "I'm glad we're back to being young friends. But remember that we're in the middle of the sports festival." Staring at them. "You must each return to your respective area and leave me the infirmary free in case any participant needs it." Izuku, "I am so sorry," saying on the way out, being followed by Shuko, "and thank you very much for treating my wounds." Recovery girl, "Don't worry, boy. That's my job." Watching how he left and slowly closed the door, speaking before he leaves, "Just be careful not to overexert yourself too much. Your body is still very tired from this whole day staying alone in the infirmary. So the successor of All Might and the daughter of Endeavor, huh?" Smiling, "And I thought I was going to end up with the daughter of the Yayorozu. But well, they are still young and many things can still happen." Izuku, walking through the halls back to his waiting room next to Shuko, who did not separate from him. As Shuko, "Don't we each have to go to our respective places?" Shuko, "It's true," but holding Izuku's shirt with her fingertips. "I just want to make up for lost time when I didn't talk to you. Besides," blushes again, "you promised me that you would save me from loneliness." Looking him in the eyes, "Does it bother you?" Izuku, "And no, of course it doesn't bother me." Blushes even more again. Shuko was already very pretty, but now I see her much more beautiful. "It's not that, it's just that I don't want you to get into trouble." Shuko, "I don't care." I noticing who had crossed the hallway and was heading towards them. "Old man." Izuku, Endeavor, remembering what he said in front of national television, getting extremely nervous. Endeavor, brat, standing in front of both young men. "I didn't like in the least the way you spoke to me," making Izuku more nervous, and seeing how Shuko takes him by the hand to calm him down, "But I respect it." Izuku/Shuko, "Huh?" Endeavor, "Not only did you have the courage to tell me that, you were also able to make Shuko use her fire." Starting to walk away from both. "I will allow them to be friends," but turning his head and staring at Izuku in an intimidating way. "Just like I told that brat from the explosions, I will not allow someone weak to marry my daughter." Izuku, "What?" Letting go of Shuko's hand. We don't, seeing how Endeavor didn't care about his answer and left. Shuko, "Marry Izuku? My hero?" Imagining that moment, "I don't dislike the idea." After that awkward moment for Izuku, Both had arrived just in time to listen attentively to Momo's fight, but Shuko, knowing what had happened to Momo a few minutes ago, told Izuku what had happened, of course, omitting some details. So Izuku only knew that Momo cried when she saw Shuko half naked next to Izuku without knowing that he was actually asleep. That not only filled him with more shame, it also made him worry for his friend, knowing that something like that could distract her from the promise they made to each other, and unfortunately for him, he was right. Announcer's room. Present mic. Ladies and gentlemen looking at the audience, are you ready for the next round? Causing everyone to scream with excitement, so what are we waiting for? On one side we have a boy whose attack power is truly formidable that should not be taken lightly, seeing how one was ready in the arena, Fumikage Tokoemi. Seeing how Momo was also in the arena, but with her head down. On the other side we have the daughter and heiress of one of the most important families in the country, with the qualities and skill to enter the academy by recommendation. Generating many more screams from the audience, Momo Yayorozu. Aizawa. Noticing Momo's attitude, she's clearly discouraged and her determination has gone. Remembering how close he was to Izuku and his words towards Shuko, she's probably like that because of Midoriya. That's why dealing with teenagers is so complicated. Stands. Civilians, finally! Excited, I already wanted to see the battle of the daughter of the Yayorozu. Me too, I'm sure she'll put up a good fight if she was selected as recommended. Extra heroes. Talking to his colleagues, do you think he'll do well? She better, after all she's been trying to do to become a heroine with such an inheritance. Don't forget how all marriage proposals that come to your family are instantly rejected. If you have such a conceited attitude, you have to prove that you are worth it. San. Midnight, are you ready? Not very convinced looking at Momo, but she had to continue. Tokoemi. Getting into position, Yayorozu's quirk is very versatile. If I'm not careful, it can be a problem. It's best to finish her off as quickly as possible. Momo, trying to concentrate. From what I saw in the second test, the weakness of his quirk is that it weakens in front of a large light source. Getting into position. If Midoriya-kun were in my position, remembering how he found Izuku and Shuko in the infirmary, getting distracted. Midnight, begin. Whipping the whip against the ground. Tokoemi, go dark shadow. Leaving Tokoemi's body at high speed and launching himself directly towards Momo. Momo, realizing too late, damn, creating a small shield on her forearm as she had no more time and receiving a strong impact. Tokoemi, don't give him time to create something more. Dark shadow. Dark shadow, yes. Launching himself again towards Momo and giving him 3 consecutive hits until stopping and returning towards Tokoemi. Tokoemi, bowing slightly, thank you very much for the fight, turning around and walking out of the arena. Momo, what? Without realizing what happened. Midnight, Momo Yayorozu is out of the arena. Causing her to look in shock, as it was true, Fumikage Tokoemi is the winner and moves on to the next round. Momo, clenching her fists while her eyes water. Stands. Civilians and extra heroes, is that all? Disappointed. What a huge disappointment it turned out to be. She is not a big deal. Her family name is too big for her. And to think that she rejected so many fiancés just because she also wanted to be a heroine. But if she can't fulfill it, it's better for her to retire. Those and more comments were heard in all the stands. Even some comments from aways in the Class B part were heard, like, she should just give up and agree to marry me once and for all. At that, Momo, who heard everything, could only start crying and run away through that tunnel through which she had come. Announcer's room. Present mic, that was too fast. Somewhat discouraged, it's best that we start with the next round. While looking at Aizawa, do you think he's okay? Not measuring his words, after all, it seemed like he left crying, being heard by everyone. Aizawa, hey! Angry, looking at his partner, be more discreet with those topics. Present mic, I am sorry. Waiting room. Izuku, Yamamoto is crying? Suddenly standing up and heading towards the exit. Shuko, Izuku? Sensing what would happen. Izuku, I'm sorry. Shuko, staring at her before walking out the door. Yamamoto is also a precious friend to me, and I can't just leave this like this. Shuko, I know, smiling, when you told me those words you also mentioned her getting up and heading to the exit. Go with her. I will return to the stands of our companions. Izuku, yes. Running through the halls to find her. Shuko, watching Izuku's back as he walked away. Izuku, even though it bothers me a little that you're running towards another woman, I know there's nothing I can do to stop you to help someone important to you. Smiling sweetly, after all, it was like that with me. That's why you're my hero, and you're also like the hero of that old tale. And with that, Izuku disappeared from Shuko's sight. A few minutes passed, and despite the fact that they had already announced that the last battle of this round between Uraraka versus Bakugo was about to begin, he decided that nothing was more important than finding Momo at that moment. And luckily for him, he could hear a small sob, and following the sound he could see her sitting on the floor with her hair down, and completely alone. Momo, Midoriyukun, realizing his presence without being able to stop crying, "What are you doing here?" Izuku, isn't it obvious? Slowly approaching Momo, "I came to see you and check on you." Momo, why? Lowering her head and hiding it between her legs, "Why would you do that when you already have Todoroki-san?" Izuku, knowing what she meant and sitting next to her, "Because for me you are also very important," smiling while putting his hand on Momo's shoulder. "You were the first genuine friend I've had in this life," and I, blushing a little and speaking in a whisper, but is still heard by Momo, "I also want to be your hero." Momo, feeling her heart beating faster even after breaking my promise to face each other? Shedding more tears as she remembers everything she heard. "Even when I'm pathetic, even when I'm so weak, even when?" Being stopped. Izuku, stop! Delicately taking her cheeks and making Momo look at him directly. "You are none of that," smiling sweetly and slowly wiping away her tears. "Calm down, raise your head. I know better than anyone what it feels like to fail over and over again, to have everyone say hurtful words to you, to only feel disappointment in yourself." But giving her a big smile like the one she gave Shuko in her battle. "That's why I'm telling you that you are none of that. You are Momo Yayorozu. A wonderful woman pursuing her dream despite all the people who are meeting her." Blushing massively at what she was going to say. This, I once read a poem that I really liked and that helped me at the time, and I think it can help you too. Momo, a poem? Izuku, swallowing saliva to start saying it. Don't give up, you still have time to reach out and start over. Accept your shadows, bury your fears. Release the ballast, take flight again. Momo, opening her eyes in shock, remembering that she had also read it once. Don't give up, that's what life is. Continue the journey, pursue your dreams. Unlock time, move the rubble and uncover the sky. Don't give up, please don't give in. Even if the cold burns, even if fear bites. Even if the sun hides and the wind falls silent. There is still fire in your soul. There is still life in your dreams. Because life is yours and so is the desire. Momo, crying again, knowing clearly what part was next. Because you wanted it, and because I love you. At those words, Izuku couldn't say anything else, since he felt like a soft and warm mass surrounded him, with a pair of arms around his neck, with a head resting between his shoulder and neck, feeling like a tear lightly hitting his skin. That was nothing more than Momo's hug towards Izuku, who, despite how nervous he was getting, reciprocated the hug, and they stayed like that for several minutes while Momo let out her feelings. Momo, still without separating from the hug, saying those words and giving that smile to two different girls on the same day, calming down a bit. You are very greedy, Midoriyuku, confusing Izuku. Izuku, I'm sorry, not really knowing what he meant. Are you feeling better now? Momo, something tightening the hug a little more, bringing their faces closer together, making both of their cheeks touch. Can I ask you something? Izuku, why yes. Momo, letting herself be carried away by her feelings. I would like us to go out somewhere, just the two of us, realizing that she practically asked him out on a date, turning red as a tomato again. Izuku, did he just ask me out? Internally panicking. Wait, Izuku, Yamamoto is our friend, she's probably just thinking about hanging out with friends. Gathering courage, I'd love to. Momo, I just asked him out and he said yes, feeling like her heart is going to jump out of her chest from nerves. Does that mean what she feels for Todoroki is not? About to ask him, but she hears a loud explosion and a few seconds later the announcement of Present Mike. And with this crushing victory, Katsuki Bakugo moves on to the next round. Next up to fight are Izuku Midoriya versus Tenya Ida. Please be prepared. Izuku, worried. I hope Uraraka-san is okay. I wanted to give you some advice, but I couldn't leave Yamamoto like that. Separating from the hug and getting up, it seems like my turn has come. Momo, good luck Midoriya-kun. Promise me that you will win for me, okay? Smiling. Izuku, sure, I promise. About to turn around to go to the arena, but Momo stops him for a second. Momo, wait. Bringing her face closer to Izuku's here for good luck, giving him a kiss extremely close to the lips just on the other side of Shuko's, only to run away in embarrassment. Izuku, staying petrified by what had happened. After that, and already somewhat recovered, he headed towards the arena, and before arriving he ran into Uraraka, who was being carried by some robots on a stretcher full of wounds and burns. He immediately went towards her with great concern, not caring that they were already calling him. He asked her what had happened, and with the little strength she had left she told him how her battle against Bakugo went. Minutes before? Midnight, are you ready? Looking at them both, noticing the difference in attitude. Uraraka, taking a deep breath to calm down, relax Ochako. Even if your opponent is someone like Bakugo, you can't lose your calm. Just remember the times you've seen him fight, and try to make a strategy like Midoriya-kun, getting into position. Bakugo, I have to win at all costs. That way I will not only show Deku that I will always be better than him, getting into position. That way I will also show Endeavor that I am the only one who can be with his daughter. I warn you, round face, I will not hold back. Uraraka, clenching her fists. Midnight, begin. Whipping her whip against the ground. Uraraka, rapidly launching herself towards Bakugo. I just need to touch him with my hand to win. Retreating is not an option. Bakugo, stretching his hand, then he dies, launching a huge explosion, making her retreat. I will finish them all until I am number one, trying to see her in the smoke screen created by his own explosion. Uraraka, thinking of a strategy. When he fought with Midoriya-kun, he also started with his right hand in that case, launching himself again towards Bakugo. Bakugo, noticing how something came out from his left, don't underestimate me. Launching an explosion, noticing that it was just his rival's sweatshirt. What? Noticing how Uraraka came out from behind him, launching an explosion again. Uraraka, using her quirk on herself and jumping the explosion, falling behind Bakugo. That was close. Uraraka, HHHH. Receiving not only the explosion but the blows of the rubble directly, making her bleed. Bakugo, launching himself again towards Uraraka and giving her another explosion straight in the face, throwing her almost out of the arena. Following the tricks of a useless man won't work on me. Uraraka, breathing with difficulty, and no, I don't know what your problem is with Midoriya-kun, but slowly getting up while wiping the blood from her face. He's not useless, and he already proved it when he beat that creature that attacked us in the USJ, getting back into position ready to continue. And compared to you, tell me, giving him a challenging look, what have you achieved in your life? At those words the entire state fell silent from the shock. Many agreed with him, others could only nod as they remembered again Izuku's battle against Denomu. Almight felt happy because they were recognizing his successor. Inko, for her part, was very happy to see how her son had friends who valued him so much. But at the same time she was already worrying about the fact that it seemed he only had female friends, and she didn't want to think that her son was becoming a womanizer. But for Bakugo those words were a hard blow to his pride, and taking advantage of the fact that Uraraka once again launched herself at him, he took the opportunity to launch several explosions at her. But this time they weren't as strong, and the only reason for that was so as not to get her out of the arena so quickly and be able to take out his frustration on the girl. The explosions and multiple debris hit her body, and still she did not give up for any reason, and taking advantage of all the debris that Bakugo was generating, she carried out her last plan. At the same time many asked to end the fight, but the director denied it, arguing that doing that would hurt the pride of the girl who was giving her all for victory. But the truth is that she did not care in the least, and only wrote down everything she could analyze about Bakugo. Uraraka, starting to see blurry, and her legs kept shaking as she struggled not to fall. It's time. I think Ivy had enough, joining the tips of her fingers, activating her quirk. Bakugo, huh? Uraraka, I'm going to win. Throwing a large amount of rubble straight towards Bakugo and launching herself towards him with her last strength. Bakugo, looking at the rubble, so this was what you had in mind, raising his hand and creating small sparks. Uraraka, with this debris, whether he's evading or counterattacking, there will definitely be an opening. Using her quirk on herself and lightening her weight to go faster, I'll win. I'm going to win and be like Midoriya-kun too. About to touch Bakugo. Bakugo, pathetic, creating a gigantic explosion, destroying all the rubble and throwing Uraraka very close outside the arena. Did you think I wouldn't know you were up to something? Slowly approaching her, watching as she tried to get up without success, just give up and die, throwing one last explosion in his face, throwing him out of the arena. This is what awaits the useless Deku, walking away from the arena while receiving boos from the public. After that, Uraraka finished telling what happened to Izuku. He for his part was more than angry. He wanted to settle accounts with Bakugo again, and the only way to do it was to win their next match and reach the finals, and upon hearing how they were calling him, Uraraka only wished her luck, and with those words they took her to the infirmary while Izuku left the tunnel and entered the arena. Announcer's room, present. Present mic, ladies and gentlemen. Excited with this match, we begin the semifinals, and despite the slight delay of the participant Midoriya, he is already here and we can start immediately. Earning the screams of the public. Aizawa, noticing Izuku's attitude, he's extremely serious. Remembering that Izuku is Uraraka's friend, most likely it must be because of that, having a bad feeling. I don't want to think badly of my other students, but it's more than clear that those two will be the finalists. I hope things don't get too out of control in the final. San. Ida, what's wrong? Smiling arrogantly, were you afraid to come out and face me knowing that I'm going to win? Izuku, without saying a word and getting into position. Ida, noticing that attitude and doing the same. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this one now, but just like I did with the other one, I must finish this fight as quickly as possible. I can't let my family name be humiliated anymore. Midnight, I see you're ready, hitting the ground with her whip. Begin. Izuku, 1 for all 5%, activating his quirk and launching himself towards Ida. Ida, reciprocal burst. Activating his quirk to the maximum from the beginning, but all he saw was how Izuku was already kicking him. Midnight, Tenya, Ida is out of the arena, therefore Izuku Midoriya moves on to the finals. Ida, what? Frustrated, did I lose so fast? Clenching his fists and looking at Izuku with great anger, that bastard didn't even take me seriously. Getting carried away by anger, committing a stupidity by launching himself again towards Izuku. Damn you! Kicking him with all his strength. Midnight, student Ida, stop right now! Tearing his suit a little to use his quirk. Izuku, distracted in his thoughts until he felt a sensation in his head again. What? Seeing that he provoked it, noticing Ida's kick, and by mere instinct he covers himself with his arm and right leg, receiving the entire blow on his knee, causing him a lot of pain. Activating the OFA to defend himself, but sees how Ida falls unconscious to the ground. Midnight, calling the medical robots as she stood next to Izuku. Let me check how serious it is. Izuku, why yes, staying still as he watched some small robots arrive with a stretcher. Midnight, finishing the check and helping him get on the stretcher. It doesn't look like anything is broken, but since you were hit while distracted, your body wasn't prepared and you suffered more damage. Giving the order to the robots, go with recovery girl, she will determine if you can continue. Stands. Civilians and extra heroes. What a vile attack. Indignant. I know, first that crazy explosion guy and now this. What kind of education are they giving to young people in this academy? Hey, let's not generalize. Having a different opinion, it's only been those two. The others, like that Midoriya boy, have behaved at the height of the situation. Still watching as Midnight dragged Ida out of the arena while many booed him. This is clearly a great dishonor to the name of his brother and his family. Private stands. Mirko, damn brat. Very angry if because of you my future disciple can't continue the fight. I myself will return that kick multiplied by 100. Ryukyu, I agree with you. Annoyed. Inko, why does my son always have to get so hurt? Crying, I'm not liking this at all. Almight, I understand you. Mrs. Midoriya, clenching his fists and trying to stay calm. I'll go see him in the infirmary. I'm sure recovery girl will be able to cure him completely. Leaving the room. But first look at Melissa. Could you stay with her, Melissa? Melissa, sure. Uncle Might, passing a handkerchief to Inko and holding his hand on her shoulder to try to calm her down. I was going to do it, even if you didn't ask me to. please go with Izuku. Almight, thank you, leaving the room and heading towards the infirmary. Naturally, everyone had their opinions on what had happened. There were so many comments being made both in the stands and on different internet forums that Principal Niza had no choice but to apologize for his student's behavior, promising that something like that would not happen again and that he would give him an appropriate punishment. And as for Izuku, he only said that they had a large infirmary to heal him and that they would be given a few extra minutes if the next battle ended as quickly as the last ones there had been. Once All Might arrived at the infirmary, he encountered not only Izuku, but also Momo and Shuko, who did not want to separate from him, but at the order to recover they gave him their space and began to examine him in detail, coming to the conclusion that, although he could heal him and that he was still conscious, his body had already suffered a lot of damage and was too tired for her to recommend continuing the fights. Naturally, Izuku didn't have to say anything at all. With his gaze alone he made it clear to everyone that he wanted to continue, and although All Might knew that this would only earn him another talk with Inko, he accepted and asked Recovery for the same favor, to which she could only say how much they both looked alike. Thus beginning the treatment, while at the same time Bakugo's battle against Tokoemi had started and ended just as quickly, giving Bakugo the victory. Announcer's room, a few minutes later. Present Mike, receiving a message, ladies and gentlemen. Announcing with great excitement in his voice, I have just been informed that the final battle will take place. Listening to all the noise from the crowd with an unbreakable will and desire to continue fighting and become champion, here it is. Watching Izuku slowly come out of the tunnel and climb onto the arena, Izuku Midoriya. Aizawa, worried. Midoriya is clearly not in optimal condition. I just hope he doesn't get hurt too much again. Even so, seeing the director discreetly ready to take notes, if things get out of control I will use my quirk on Bakugo if necessary. Mizu, this time I'm in the front row to stare at everything you can do one for all, more concerned about knowing what his own quirk can do than about Izuku. San. Bakugo, waiting for him in his position, how pathetic, smiling arrogantly, receiving the kick from that extra, but well, you couldn't expect less from a useless Deki getting into attack position. Izuku, shut up, also putting himself in potion ready to begin. Bakugo, what's wrong? Trying to provoke him so much affection about the round face? Saying it mockingly to annoy Izuku even more. Midnight, are you ready? Not receiving any response, but seeing their expressions was more than enough. Get started. Hitting the ground with her whip. Bakugo, launching towards Izuku with his explosions. Izuku, 1 for all 5%. Activating his quirk and wanting to take Bakugo by his right arm, but it was just a farce. Bakugo, that stupid trick won't work twice on me. Using his explosions to change direction in midair and giving him an explosion all over his back. Don't underestimate me, you bastard. Realizing that Izuku was no longer there. What? Izuku, jumping at the last second. I'm here. Hitting Bakugo hard in the face and falling to the ground, hurting himself due to his knee injuries. Damn. The arm I broke in the fight against Shuko, and now my knee, starting to tremble in those areas. If it weren't for that feeling in my head I would have hit him directly. But I can't go on like this for long. Launching himself against Bakugo, enduring the pain. I have to end this as soon as possible. Bakugo, damn it, recovering from the blow and noticing how Izuku's lessons were shaking. Those places must not be completely healed. Smiling fiercely as he created more explosions to also launch himself against Izuku. I just have to attack those places and I'll have the advantage. And in this way their combat and the exchange of blows continued. Bakugo attacked with great ferocity and with the strongest explosions they had ever seen, and always aiming directly at Izuku's wounds, and he in turn dedicated himself to dodging them thanks to that sensation that warned him of danger. Unfortunately, his body was getting slower and slower due to all the fatigue of having healed his wounds with the Recovery Girl quirk, and that was noticed by Bakugo, who did not waste the opportunity. Bakugo, ha ha ha, what's going on? Throwing multiple explosions at different angles, forcing Izuku to defend himself. That demonstration against the thing that attacked us at the USJ was just a matter of luck, right? Keeps throwing explosions at Izuku, and some hitting him in the knee, forcing him to fall. You're just a useless guy who thought he was too much just for a stroke of luck and to gain 5 minutes of fame. Approaching Izuku. Bakugo, you're worthless. Kneeing Izuku in the chin, knocking him to the ground and throwing explosions at him without holding back. Do you think you're such a big deal just because All Might defended you that day in high school? Throwing more explosions at Izuku's body. Do you think you're such a big deal because you woke up your quirk late? Do you think you're such a big deal just because you have friends now? Smiling maliciously as he continued to attack, although Izuku's blood was already splashing the sand. By this point, Midnight wanted to stop the battle, but received a message through a communicator from Director Nizu arguing not to intervene in the slightest in that meeting, and said order was given to each teacher of the academy. Inko could only cry seeing that scene and remember thinking about everything her son had to live before she told him the truth. For his part, All Might was about to go out to stop him, but the image of Izuku promising that he would win the festival no matter what the cost stopped him, and although that image hurt him, he decided to trust his successor. But with Izuku it was a different feeling. While he covered himself from Bakugo's explosions, he could only remember what his entire childhood was like, all the mockery, all the humiliation from all the people in that academy, and what he felt in those moments, which could only be described as loneliness. It was as if he were completely alone in the middle of a great snowy blizzard without receiving the warmth of anyone else. Bakugo, you will never have friends. Enjoying that moment a lot. I will be the only one to be number one, and the only one worthy of being the husband of the two faces. Surprising everyone with his words and disgusting Shuko, just imagining that if you had never awakened your damn quirk, everyone would know that you are just useless. Momo, that's not true. Coming out of the tunnel standing next to the arena, I met Midoriya-kun when he couldn't use his quirk yet, and I never thought of something like that. Having watery eyes. Shuko, next to Momo in the same situation, I have also known Izuku for a long time, and I can say that he is one of the best men I have ever met. Remembering Bakugo's words, you are just a narcissist idiot with complete superiority who envies him, and whom I would never accept him as a husband. Bakugo, shut up, damn you. Smiling madly for feeling superior to Izuku after so long. I don't want the words of a failure who can't handle her family's last name, and loses so pathetically to another damn extra. I don't want you to talk two faces either. When I'm the best, I'll ask for a quirk marriage so you're all mine. At those words, everyone was shocked by such a nefarious attitude on the part of a student towards heroes. Nizu knew that there was no way to divert attention from that, so in order to maintain the status of the academy, he would think of an appropriate punishment. Each and every one of the people in the stadium were supporting Izuku, and listening to the girl's last words was what started something new in Izuku. Momo, don't give up. Shuko, you promised you would win. Momo, show him. Shuko, show them all. Momo/Shuko, show them that you are like that hero from that story that we like so much. Izuku, slowly opening his eyes as his body generated more rays, one for all 8%. Momo/Shuko, show them you can be like the Argonaut. Izuku, stretching out his hands and grabbing Bakugo by the shirt to give him a strong headbutt in the nose, breaking it. Bakugo, taking several steps back while holding his broken nose, filling with even more anger and no, a damn Unito like you could never surpass me, and I will show everyone that I am the strongest. Starting to raise him as much as possible with his explosions. I haven't tried this technique yet, but I will use it to shit him out. I will show that the dreams of useless people must end. Nosing while creating small explosions in his hands to start spinning at high speed, forming a large tornado of fire howitzer impact. Those words were the straw that broke the camel's back for All Might, since his teacher believed a lot in people's dreams, and he did the same with Izuku's dreams. But before he could say anything, it was his disciple who did it for him. Izuku, people's dreams. Crouching, one for all 9%, generating many more rays throughout his body while small vapor trails came out of his body. They never end. Giving a powerful jump towards Bakugo, destroying part of the arena in the process. To say that everyone was impressed was an understatement. Before their eyes, Izuku just ascended towards the sky without stopping. Everyone thought it was because of that jump he made, but the truth is that it was not that. Just like the small trails of vapor that he expelled, they attributed it in their minds that it was because the electricity from his body had evaporated the sweat from his body. But the truth is that was not the case either. Bakugo, in his desperation, seeing Izuku getting closer and closer to him, launched his explosions along with the fire tornado he had generated directly towards Izuku, who with great determination went through it. Midnight, Eraser, stop them now! Very worried, this is crazy. Announcer's room. Aizawa, I try to. With his quirk active, but that tornado prevents me from seeing Bakugo, and with Midoriya my quirk doesn't work. Without measuring, his words being heard by everyone. Private stands? Mirko, yes. 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 Trembling with excitement, that's what I was talking about. Grinning fiercely, finished the brat. Seeing the exact moment where Izuku enters the fire tornado. Inko, in another room, my baby. About to faint. Almight, he will achieve it, putting his hand on Inko's shoulder. I'm sure he will achieve it, smiling, remembering some words and telling them to Inko as my teacher said, that her teacher told them to her. At that moment when Izuku was less than a second away from reaching Bakugo, he heard it. It was again the voice of that man who appeared in the USJ incident, that voice that transmitted so much nostalgia to him. And without him knowing it, they were the same words that All Might was saying to Inko at that very moment. In this world, only those who oppose the will of others to do what is right are the ones who shine the most. Izuku's body tensed at that instant. His countless rays disappeared, but it wasn't that he had stopped using one for all, quite the opposite. At that instant all the power was concentrated inside Izuku's body. His muscles enlarged slightly. His hair stood on end slightly. His pupils had a tiny distortion. Faced with that sensation, he incredibly had no doubt that was it. Izuku, one for all 10%, throwing a powerful punch straight to Bakugo's face. Bakugo, seeing how Izuku's arm was covered with black energy, and several shadows stood out behind him. What the hell is that quirk? Unable to do anything to avoid the blow. After that, Bakugo was thrown towards the ground. Fortunately for All Might, when he saw that he broke the window and jumped to save him, the entire stadium had gone completely silent, and less than a second later Izuku began to fall. But again All Might was there to help him, and leaving Bakugo on the ground, he jumped for his successor and left him in the middle of the semi-destroyed arena. But before he took him to the infirmary to treat his wounds, he stopped him, and with pure willpower he waited for Shuko and Momo, who were running towards him and had arrived a second later. Izuku, full of wounds, not yet trying to keep balance, I still can't fall. There's something I have to tell you. Shuko/Momo, Izuku/Midoriya-kun. Arriving in front of Izuku while everyone just looks at them in silence. Izuku, girls walking towards them only to trip after the first step and fall into their arms. Momo, good job Midoriya-kun, putting it between his and Shuko's breasts. Shuko, going to fight with your body full of wounds, stroking Izuku's hair, being imitated by Momo. How stupid can you be? Izuku, it's true, getting up and staring at them. I'm sorry I made you worry so much. Shuko, you don't have to do it, with her head down, hiding her eyes. Momo, we are also fools, imitating Shuko's action. Izuku, confused, what are they referring to? Shuko, since. Momo, to us. Shuko/Momo, raising their gazes, showing that their eyes were filled with small tears. We love that you are like this. Each one hugging him from one side. Izuku, this warmth. Looking at the sky, feeling that warm sensation, remembering that his life began to improve after meeting them. It was this warmth that saved me from loneliness. Separating a little, he hugs slowly. Girls, there is something I want to tell you. Shuko/Momo, what is it? Holding her hands. Izuku, I know this may sound bad, and that many people will misinterpret it, that it may sound very selfish on my part, but I, slightly tightening his grip on the girl's hands, I want you to always be by my side. Shuko/Momo, unable to bear it any longer and starting to cry, yes. Launching herself to hug him again, we also want to always be with you. Each giving him a kiss on the cheeks. Announcer's room. Present mic, what? Unable to bear the silence any longer, those words can mean many things. Looking at the audience still, the undisputed champion of this year's sports festival is called Izuku Midoriya.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.